Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dylan Musnett. With me, the Here We Go Again, Kirkland Patzer. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing very good. Spring is springing. Mother's Day is approaching, and life is good. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know? Are you gonna get your mom? Do you know what you're getting your mom already? Or are you gonna procrastinate?
Is it this
that
Sunday?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Shay told me today, and I'm just talking about like, oh yeah, Mother's Day. Like, what are we gonna be doing? And then she's like, oh, it's like Sunday. Eh? I'm like, oh my god. Okay, I'm glad we're talking about this now. So I have no plans as of right now. My mom's very easy going, so I'll probably just stop by, and that'll make her day, and yeah, we'll go from there. Might have spoiled it.
You're not gonna get her anything.
Episode.
You're just gonna show
my
up. My
presents and some flowers, maybe.
Okay, there you
She's
go. Okay.
big into like just gardening and flowers, so
nice.
the greenery here in Kelowna, I like to take her there, and she's like a kid in a candy store. She's like one of those children in Willy Wonka. I like lose her at certain points. She's just gunning through the aisles, and I have to like.
Let's get that bag of fertilizer, 2 mandrakes, a couple poppies,
couple mandrakes, exactly. Yeah, got the earmuffs on, but like it's not like you can just go there with a basket or like a small cart. Like we get the whole flat, like the Costco size, So
hell yeah, show up with a U-Haul and just bring the whole store with you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that'll probably be my plan. But
nice.
Ill prepared. It snuck up on me big time. It kind of surprised me. It was even May on it. Like I didn't realize it was May the 4th till like last night, like in the evening.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, so much for Star Wars Celebration. But
yeah, true. I don't know. There's like tons of games coming out this month, which once again that snuck up on me too. I don't know. Like April had some things, but I feel like that month just disappeared into the non-existence. But you know what I've done for the last few years? Me and my sister kind of do a combined thing for Mother's Day usually, and we try to get my mom like a little something more expensive or bigger or something like that. And so that kind of like lessens the responsibility of me individually, and I kind of share the load. Plus, my sister's more responsible, and on it with these kinds of things. Absolutely. But she's also a mom now too, so I can't bombard her too much because she deserves her own praise as well. But she's not my mom; she's just my sister. So what am I gonna do?
Exactly. No, I have the exact same dynamic. It's funny. Maybe I'll give the blame to my sister because normally she messages me like months ago, like, "Hey, what are we doing for Mother's Day?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start brainstorming here." And then she reminds me every couple of weeks. And shouts out to all the great sisters out there that are more responsible than the brothers. But
and
she
just
goes. She just didn't mention anything to me, so I feel like I'm just unreliable now. She's like, "Well, I'm just gonna do my own thing."
You could be the one to bring it up, and then she'll.
True. Now, are you kidding me? I guarantee you she already has something going. But maybe I'll message her and just make sure.
Yes.
Hey, I got this from Mom. Do you want me to put your name on it? Drop one of those.
Yeah. I'm excited for today's episode. We have just a whole bunch of random topics, some of the games we've been playing, some news items, and then some other things along the way. So it should be a fun thing. I want to start with this. So a couple weeks ago, Bethesda, Xbox, whatever, shadow dropped the Oblivion Remaster. Now, obviously, I know you're a Skyrim head. Me and Taylor talked about jumping into Oblivion there. Like, what are you? Did you pick this up? Are you going to pick this up? I feel like this is your prime chance to really become an Oblivion head, considering how much you love Skyrim. So where are you at with this remaster? Considering it is PS5 as well, because I'm guessing your computer maybe wouldn't like this thing running through a machine, but it is PS5 as well, right? So what's your game plan with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was just shocked. Like I heard that it got shadow dropped. Like, of course, I was getting some buzz in the Discord there, and part of me is just like in disbelief. It's like, okay, they're announcing it. That's kind of cool. It'll come out eventually, and then I just like did not palate that it was already out. And even now, I feel like I've seen gameplay of it, and it's still just like, man, that's crazy that just like I'm still trying to process the news that Oblivion just got shadow dropped. It makes me think that maybe they should have been focusing on the next Elder Scrolls, but Oblivion's got his fan base out there.
Well, it's another studio. It's not Bethesda. I mean, Bethesda's involved, but it is mostly Virtuous Studio who is doing the remaster. So
there you go.
Don't worry. I don't think this is meaningfully delaying Elder Scrolls 6 again.
Again, yes. I mean, I probably won't be jumping on it right away. I'm really in no rush to get it. I don't have like any nostalgia for Oblivion other than, well, funny enough, it's probably the one I played. Not counting like Daggerfall and those really obscure ones, but like probably the one I played the least out of the main titles, but probably the first Elder Scrolls game I ever played. Funny enough, I remember going
Okay.
to my cousin's house in Alberta, and on his Xbox 360, he's like, "Check out this game. It's called Oblivion." And then I just remember like making my character, and he was like telling me to make a Breton because they can heal themselves, and like I just remember like the starting area.
I've never
like,
heard
in the
anyone
dungeon.
recommend play a Breton in Elder Scrolls, so that's cool. I like that.
I'm such a Breton fan. Actually, I
Okay,
grew up
okay.
being the classic dark elf. Listening to a little bit of you and Taylor's
Well,
episode
Breton's
there,
like
so.
conjuration. I know
Yeah.
that's always one of the magic I've associated with them. But are they also good with restoration? Is that another
They're-
one of their strengths?
I think they just started with a healing spell, whereas like in Skyrim, I think everyone
Okay,
gets
everyone in
a healing
Oblivion
spell.
starts with a fire and a healing spell.
Okay,
but
there
maybe
you
they
go.
get a better
Never
one
mind
because
then.
depending on what you pick as your master, you'll get like bonus spells as well.
Maybe he had only played a Breton, and then he's like, "This guy has fire and healing."
It
They're
might
awesome.
be that. Yeah, it honestly might be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I've just kind of evolved into a Breton fan. I just like
Okay.
the deep lore of kind of how that race originated. I'm not going to bore all the listeners about that. Maybe in a future episode,
Someday.
I'll nerd out about Elder Scrolls. But no, yeah, they're conjuration, and they're just resistant to magic. Like they have
Okay.
dragon skin, I think is what their racial passive was
Mm.
always, and just resistant to magic. But yeah, no, I don't know. A couple of other friends that have just been messaging me, like friends from high school, because they're just huge on Elder Scrolls and like they were massive Oblivion fans, like even more than Skyrim. So,
Mhm.
I mean, for those people, I'm just so hyped because I know that feeling. Like like I'm a massive Skyrim fan, and I just kind of remaster it myself when I can add mods and completely
Yeah.
retexturize it, which people do for those older games, but I just didn't have the tie to those titles like I would. I mean. Personally, I feel like I would have been so much more excited for a Morrowind remaster. I'm sure you
okay.
would have been in the same camp, perhaps. I know you love the uniqueness of what makes that
Mhm.
game itself, of just being air quote dated. But that's just the
Yeah.
magic of it. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the story of it. I feel like it's another thing that I kind of know the whole story. Like I just went through like a deep dive on just the story of all these Elder Scrolls games. So I pretty much know like the main hitting points of all the titles that I played or that I haven't played actually. And yeah, I don't know. I'm also really buttoning down on my just my budgeting for for video
Fair.
game purchases this year. We got the big Japan trip coming up in the fall,
Yeah,
and
there you
I
go.
feel like I'm being pretty. I'm gonna have to make some tough cuts, I think, on just the games. Like Doom Dark Ages. I don't think I'm gonna be jumping on that one right away, even though I really want to.
Yeah.
Travis reassured me it's a Game Pass game, so there'll be some Xbox fans jumping on there at least for whatever, a review or just giving their thoughts.
It sounds like between Oblivion Remaster and Doom, like you just gotta get an Xbox. I know you just said you're saving money, so the last thing you want to do is get an Xbox, especially if they just price increased the console after
Yeah.
all these years. But I don't know. I feel like considering how much you really take advantage of like PS Plus, I think
Yeah.
if you or I guess once again for you, it's like probably makes more sense to just get that better PC that you've been talking about getting, and then you have access to
Probably.
all these same things anyway through Game Pass that way. So that seems like
Yeah.
the way to go. Plus,
I mean,
it's cheaper. Game Pass is cheaper on PC if you just have that version, I think. So
Okay.
more efficient. Yeah.
Is it just PC or like PC Xbox, which is like an additional one, or
There's
is it
different
just an
tiers.
Xbox? And
There's
okay, yeah.
there's just PC version, just the console version. Then there's like a cheaper like discount tier that's doesn't have the whole catalog.
ads
And then there's
halfway through the
Ultimate.
game.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. And then there's Ultimate that has everything plus EA Play, like in terms of PC,
Okay.
console, and EA Play in there as well. So you
Right.
would just get the PC version, which is like, I think the cheapest one too, actually. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
I think that would be like that would probably make the most sense, just because like I got to use my computer for podcasting and just life in general, and then. I'm never going to be getting Total War Warhammer on console, so I got to be upgraded.
I can't imagine playing that with a controller. That would be horrendous.
I mean, even like Age of Mythology, I saw is on like when they did that Retold or whatever it is. It's
that's
on
owned
console,
by Microsoft now. So
which is just like I was watching gameplay of like people doing it on a controller, and like I played Battle for Middle Earth back in the day. That's an RTS that's on console, and it just feels weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I guess you
Civ
could always
7
plug-
was not ideal with a controller.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, I know you can hook up your your keyboard to PlayStation. Back in the day, I remember a good friend of mine was playing Warzone that way, like on his PlayStation, but he hooked up a mouse and keyboard.
I would
But
be
yeah,
shocked if Civ supported that on consoles just because of
yeah,
how early access that game was when it released. I would
yeah.
be shocked if that was a feature they even considered implementing. Like I don't remember seeing anything like that in the settings, but for something like Call of Duty, maybe they I don't know, would have a feature like
Yeah,
that, but I
I
should
don't
look into
know.
it cuz that would be good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I was actually really close to getting the Game Pass machine a couple years ago. I was just really enticed by the like the drops that they were getting on Games
Yeah.
Pass, and Travis and I were just talking about this like off cast before our other cast just the other night on this topic of just like these games that are dropping on Games Pass. And I'm forever gonna be a PlayStation guy. I'm loyal. You know, I got
Mhm.
all my PlayStation gamer score on there, all my trophies and whatnot for
Yeah.
life. But I definitely got to give credit to Xbox and Games Pass. I feel like PlayStation's it's gotten way better with their version of it, but Game Pass just gets such remarkable releases, and
Mhm.
I guess a big part of that is just the studios that Xbox is or Microsoft has acquired throughout the years, and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that stuff. But
Not from their hard work internally, but just from having lots of bags of money to throw around.
yeah.
A clear
If you can't beat
distinction.
them, just buy them, right? That's the
Can't beat them. Make them join you. I guess through capitalism. Honestly, I'm surprised that you're not immediately. I know once again the saving money thing, but like I feel like Oblivion. Okay, it's a game you've played a little bit of, but for all intents and purposes, it's like a new Elder Scrolls game, and it's like this game looks amazing. Unreal to use the pun
yeah.
because it's in the Unreal Engine. And like you're so on the edge of your seat for Elder Scrolls 6. Like I'm kind of surprised this isn't like a day one. Like okay, I can play like the
Yeah.
an older Elder Scrolls game that's still modern-ish. Of course, it has its quirks, and they kept a lot of those quirks and the janky and shitty things about that game in terms of
Yeah.
like broken systems or glitches and whatnot. But it's like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you aren't more gung ho to check this out, especially from like the lore perspective. I feel like Cyrodiil being kind of the center of the whole Tamriel
Totally.
map and having the ties and
Bordering
all the
Skyrim,
different.
it's
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. Like go to the northern section and get a bit of that Skyrim flavor. Go over here, get a bit of that like the Khajiit, world, like the forest and all
Mhm.
that sort of flavor. You get a little bit of everything. So yeah, I'm surprised you're not more gung ho for this.
I think a big factor also is like I'm not at like a natural like transition period from a video game. Like I'm like deep in a current one that I'm playing right now, so it's
Uh-huh.
like I don't want to play
Okay.
anything else but that. So this probably would have hit a lot differently if I was in that like I don't know. You're probably the same with Morrowind, but like oh, it's that time of the year. Better boot up a Skyrim save or something like that. Like just
Yes.
I got to
Yeah.
get back into that world. So if I feel like if I was already in that mind space, I probably would have been a lot more gung ho. Because yeah, it is on Games Pass, but is it a full price game? Part like
No, I don't.
yeah.
I think it's like $10-$20 less than a standard game. I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, it makes it a little bit more enticing, but yeah, we'll wait and see. It'll be one I definitely jump in there because yeah, I haven't actually played through that story for myself, even though I know the
Mhm.
main hitting points. And I mean, yeah, just some glimpses at the as you already said, like it looks so beautiful. They did such a great job with just the retexturing of everything. It looks so
Yeah.
gorgeous, and they still managed to keep that that special jank that Elder Scrolls games
Yeah. Exactly.
has, which we know and love.
Yeah. I mean, I think when Elder Scrolls 6 feels more imminent, that is always a retro I've wanted to do. Just specifically Morrowind and Oblivion, or if I can even, convince you guys just to do Oblivion, I'm fine with that too, because I know Morrowind's one step further, especially now that Oblivion does have this new coat of paint. Just because those are huge time sinks, and even like the discussion me and Taylor had, we talked for like probably 45 minutes, but that is like incredibly surface level in terms of how much that game has to offer, right? Just because it was, we were only a few hours in, even though we've both played the game for hundreds of hours previously. So yeah, I mean, I'm at some point in the future, I'm sure that will drop to a super steep discount, or maybe someday we'll have something that can run Game Pass in these newer games, and
Yeah.
we can do that, because I think that is a discussion that needs to happen at some point, and I'm just always fiending to talk about Elder Scrolls stuff. That's why I always bring it up. So in that train of thought, I wanted to bring up one little leak for Elder Scrolls 6 that we got here, which is, I'm going to say, almost certainly not real at all, but I think it brought up some interesting ideas that I kind of wanted to like bounce off you here. Maybe some things we've talked about a little bit before because we've had these discussions in the past, but maybe some other fresh things here. So obviously with Elder Scrolls 6, like it's looking very likely that Hammerfell is the location, just based off the teaser we got, and then like other leaks and rumors we've heard over the years since then. It seems like that's going to be the location. But I think this leak specifically, the interesting things that were standing out to me is just like what that could mean, because Hammerfell, of course, like all the other provinces in the world of Tamriel, huge map. But it is coastal, and there are islands kind of off the mainland, and like bigger islands. There's always kind of islands here or there, but bigger ones off the mainland. And so part of this rumor is that like, okay, part of the new features or new selling points of this next game are going to be like sailing is an actually like a mechanic in here, and then obviously with that would be like ship building, building out your ship. In that, obviously all these games recently, starting with kind of Skyrim, adding more customization that you could do to your buildings and whatnot, and then Fallout 4 added a little more features on that. Starfield, obviously, you could customize your ship. And so now it makes sense. What is the new thing that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to do? Well, building out like a ship could be something else that would be pretty cool there, too. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that something that would be... Now, obviously, also, a huge part of the map is not water, right? So it's like, okay, this, I guess, would just be like one subset of the game. It's not like the whole game would be like a Wind Waker type experience.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is that something that kind of excites you for an Elder Scrolls 6? Is that like where you'd want them to go or put their resources?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like surface level, yes, just because I don't know. I Fallout 4, I did love what they added for the customization, was the base builder sort of aspect of it. But I didn't really use it that much. But like first time I jumped in there, I'm like, this is really cool. There's a reason to be picking up cans and screws and all this millions of things that you're picking up on your runs. But just not something that I really access to. So like surface level, I think this is really, really cool, especially just man, one of my I'm gonna make a quick argument here. I feel like one of the best pirate games of all time, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I love that game so much.
That's not controversial. I feel like that's the coldest take I've ever heard, Kirkland. Isn't that doesn't everyone say that?
I never hear people making this argument though. I
Okay.
feel like it's so much more of a pirate game than an Assassin's Creed game. Like it's just like take the Assassin's Creed part of it, and it's just a fantastic pirate game. But I just loved what you did with the ships in that game. I felt like it was so ahead of the time, especially thinking back like how old that game is now, like well over a decade. And I still think it holds up. Just looking at in my mind's eye, of course. I haven't seen like recent gameplay. Maybe it really doesn't hold up, but just back in the day, like I just customizing your ships, choosing like what type of weaponry, and then building up your crew. Like that's just such a fun thing to just have in your gameplay loop. Just makes you keep going back in there. And I don't know, like thinking about that, of course, with Elder Scrolls, in a modern Elder Scrolls on modern graphics, modern systems, and all that. Like that sounds really cool. But like I just don't trust Bethesda to make it feel good. I don't know. I every time I didn't play Starfield. Is that it, right?
Starfield.
Yeah,
right,
I I couldn't remember. I haven't touched it, but I haven't played that. But I just feel like with Bethesda games, their vehicles and like things like that are usually very janky in their games. Like horses, like those they're very odd. I like them. I use them, but like they're just all-terrain vehicles in Skyrim. Like you can mountain climb on those things. They're basically a billy goat, and they just don't feel like authentic, like how how a horse would feel. I don't know. It's a weird comparison to make, but just picturing Bethesda trying to make like a whole system around this, like it's not just a horse in water. Like it's a full ship with people moving around, and it's just hard for me to look past like, would I really be able to drive it, or is it just a thing I go to the wheel and I hit E and then I'm just at my destination? Because that's what I picture mostly with just the engines that they've had in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, the more I stew on it, it's like, why? Like I don't really need that either. Like let's just I don't know. Like let me just fast travel on water more so than actually driving a vehicle on the water, and then just focus more on the land stuff. I think that's just my immediate reaction, but who knows? Maybe it'll come out and I'm making the argument that's the best pirate game of all time is Elder Scrolls 6. So we'll have to wait and see for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's a type of mechanic. Like you don't even climb up ladders in Elder Scrolls games. You just interact with them, right? And then you're up typically.
Sure,
so to have a full moving system, as someone that's played Starfield, like, am I completely wrong here? Like, did they nail it with the ship system in Starfield? I don't even know how it really worked.
There's some elements that are decent about it. I think I didn't care much for like the space combat, but I can't think of many games where I like space combat at all. Like it's fine. I used it and it was good enough, but like it's not something I really chose to do in my free time. And then in terms of the ship building, I think it had a lot of cool features and you could make some cool looking ships and like customization and all that. But I think for me, the biggest issue and why I didn't engage with it much was like you were just in like a blueprint kind of menu at like a star base, and you're building out like what the outside of the ship looks like, but you don't know what like the interior rooms look like. And so I think that's
Mm.
the thing I would be more interested in, is like making a cool looking ship on the inside and planning out these different rooms. Now obviously you can go on like Reddit, whatever, and there's guides of like, oh, this is what the inside of it looks like. This is where the doors are, so you can figure out how you'll actually move in your ship when you
Right.
build this thing. But it was just, a couple steps too far. And maybe they've patched some of that stuff. I haven't gone back to Starfield recently. I'm still waiting for more DLC drops in there. But one thing that I loved and I think would be really cool in Elder Scrolls is implementing a crew, because you kind of like in every Elder Scrolls game or Fallout, whatever, like maybe you could have one or two companions with you at a given time. But I think Starfield made that a little bit more enticing, where you like whenever you come back to your ship, you got your different people. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna hire this guy because he's got really good gun abilities, so he's gonna make me better in these battles. I'm gonna add this person because they add this other thing, and then you can kind of pick and choose them when you're going down on the planets, which ones you want to take with you at this given time. I think that's something that would be really fun in an Elder Scrolls game, to have like larger crews, kind of gathering companions in one space and then choosing based on whatever situation you want to do where you want to go. Because I feel like as it works now, it's like every companion, if you say see you later, they go back to like their default spot, right? And then you have to like go get them again. I think that's how it works. So
See you back
just
home. Just starts walking.
yeah, exactly. Which, a great video by Any Awesome where he like follows Dogmeat to like see the actual path he takes if you just say that to him. So go check out that video. Great, like 15-minute video there. But I think that would be like a really fun element of it, of like gathering your companions there, like building out rooms for them, more decorations. Because in Starfield, like there was a lot of great customization there, but as with like the problem I have with Fallout 4 and Starfield customization is so much of it is resource dependent. And so it's like I can't really build the things I want. I'm like really limited on I can only make this tunnel right now or this hab right now. And I got to go grind all these resources just to make this next thing. So instead, I really like decorating the interior of my house. I spent hours and hours and hours doing that in Starfield. And that would be great to do on a ship, like planning every table, the things that are on this table, that table, whatever, all that stuff. I think that would be really fun. And so I just hope it kind of is pretty cohesive between like building what the outside of a ship would look like versus what the inside is.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, I don't really want there to be ship combat, which I feel like is kind of, if you're going to go through all this effort to have like ship building and you're building out cannons and stuff, like you're going to have ship battles. I don't think I want that. I can't think of many games where I really enjoy that. Like Sea of Thieves has some fun elements to it. It's a little limited. Other games focus on it more and are probably really, really good at it, but that's just not something I want. I don't think I really want that from Elder Scrolls, and I don't want that for me. I would just want it as like a mobile home, essentially.
Yeah.
And then if I could use that to explore islands, whether you actually are traveling or if it is what you're saying of like a kind of point A to point B, Starfield kind of had like a bit of both of those, where you have to fast travel to get to different locations. But then when you're in those locations, they are slightly more expansive. There are things you can find, and there are still the classic Bethesda moments where you stumble upon something or something unexpected happens, but it was a little few and far between compared to other games just because of all the fast traveling you had to do. It was a little bit immersive in that way. But do you think that's something that they would do? I was thinking about this of like, okay, there are going to be set islands, of course. Maybe there's a huge castle on this one island, quest locations that you go to. But do you think they would implement like a randomization feature like they had in Starfield, where there was 1,000 planets, whatever, but like when you go to certain areas, of course there are like quest areas that are maybe specific, but other stuff it just generates random terrain with random buildings and stuff. You think that's something they would do, almost like an Animal Crossing, where it's like, take me to a random island, and then you just go to a random island and it generates that? Is that something you want? Like for me, it's more of like, I think that's a prediction over do I want that, just because I think I want a more handcrafted experience. But I feel like they've been really stepping up with like randomization, like even Skyrim, right? The Radiant quests, when you like beat the Thieves Guild, you can have infinite quests for the rest of time, but it's just like a little more generic, right? Because it's like, oh, go to this one place and steal this ledger, whatever it was. But yeah, is that something you think they would do, or is that something you would want?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just hearing off of kind of what you described there with Starfield, it like the validity of it. It seems more plausible if they're already kind of going in that direction. Because like even in Skyrim, like it's not really a random place, but like the whole thing with the dragons, like they were unscripted. They would just pop in whenever, right? So definitely I could see them having interactions like that, and especially if they are trying to do some naval exploration, like just have, I don't know, the Kraken just fucking appears out of nowhere, or like something like that, right? Like a big tornado or like monsoon just happens. It's unscripted. It can happen whenever. But in terms of like locations, I feel like I want to say no, just because I feel like especially if they're like making a dungeon or like a set location, I feel like just and again, I'm just pulling from things that they've done in the past, but it just seems like they've always kind of handcrafted those. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want it to be randomly generated. But who knows? Because like No Man's Sky, that's another example. Like everything's kind of randomly generated. When it first started out, it was super bleak and bare bones. But when they kind of kept working on it and just fixed that algorithm, you go to those worlds now and they're fully fleshed universes. Like it's really impressive what they're.
And now they've like Starfield has kind of been maybe a bit of a crash course for them to experiment with that a little bit. Yeah. So hopefully by the time Elder Scrolls 6 comes around, if that is something they're going to implement, it's like, well, the map generation is going to be a shit ton better, making things more, having more variety there, and like taking all the criticism that people had for that randomization in Starfield and like implementing that in Elder Scrolls 6. It could feel a little less beta and more like, okay, this is the fully fledged experience of what the dream of Starfield to some extent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I feel like I'm kind of leaning more in the direction that it is plausible. And in terms of me wanting it, I feel like I'm just an old man. I'm like, I don't want it, but if I get it and it's awesome, I'll probably be eating my words and like, man, why did they not do this sooner? So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle, as boring of an answer as that kind of is, but and like just quickly on like the ship thing, I feel like what you were describing with Starfield, I feel like that kind of added to my believability that is possibly going to be doing like whether not necessarily like combat in the water, but just you're floating home, so to speak. Like you have your crew, you have multiple companions. Like I can actually really picture that in that formula, even if you're not necessarily doing full scale naval combat. I don't know. I'm a lot more on the I think it is going to be one of those things because you know. Feels like 100 years ago now, but when we first saw that little cinematic trailer, like they're showcasing the coast. So since the get-go, they've kind of been showing that. But that
and I mean, there's a couple quests in Oblivion specifically that are talking about like there's like pirates or like invading a ship. Is like I remember there's an early one there. I think it's in the Dark Brotherhood quest line where you have to like go on a ship and like sneak through and all this stuff. You know, Morrowind had like shipwrecks everywhere. In Skyrim, I can't remember if there was like
there were shipwrecks.
I'm sure there were. Yeah, I'm sure there were ships and things like some quests that took you there. So it's always been something they've toyed with. And there's always been like ship models in these games, and they've always been a part of it. And like as it's gone along, it's become in Oblivion and Skyrim, like they'll actually float in the water, whereas Morrowind's a little more janky, I think, in comparison. But like I don't know, it's been always something that's there. And I think too, like these games have always had water breathing and water walking as a spell. Maybe I forget if Skyrim removed any of those.
No,
but like
both those.
Yeah. So it's like those spells have always been there, and they're fun and cool, but also you don't really use them much because like the games aren't really water games. And so I think if there was a bigger water element, just even those two spells alone would be even cooler to have that as a feature. Like imagine your ship gets taken down. It's like, okay, I got to use my water walking so I can go invade this ship over. Like that would be a cool thing. And then on top of that, I feel like it could be an opportunity to implement some new skills because I think for the last few games, we've really just been like removing skills from the skill tree. Like even Daggerfall had like all these languages and like climbing. Morrowind removed those, and then like Oblivion removed some things from Morrowind. And Skyrim really like took a lot of the weapons out and just put it as like one-handed, two-handed, and kind of took out mysticism, just simplifying things. But I think it'd be cool if there was like whether it was just one skill that had a tree to it, or if it was multiple of like sailing, or even if you're having like more of a ship and you're a captain, like a leadership skill that Starfield had, and I really like some of those skills in there. I think it could be cool if we kind of revitalize the game a little bit with like implementing some new quests in there or some new skills along the way too, because that's just not something we've really had recently. Like I don't think Skyrim added any new skills, and obviously there's like in the pegs there's like unique things that other games didn't have, of course, but just in terms of like that RPG building of it, like I could see myself doing like I'm doing like a pirate playthrough. I'm just going to do all water quest stuff, and then I could do other playthroughs in Elder Scrolls 6 where I don't even touch the water at all because that's how open these games are, right? And I'm just doing Fighters Guild, whatever the main quest is, staying on the mainland, that sort of thing. So I don't know, it's just fun to keep adding things on. But I think what you mentioned a while ago of just like how janky the movement can be on like the horses specifically, Starfield eventually added like a rover. I still haven't tried it, but I remember Travis had tried that update and he said it was very janky and not super fun to control. And so it's like, I don't know, would I want to be controlling the ship anyway if it's just gonna be like a clunky slow thing? I'd almost be fine if it was really just a cosmetic thing to have like a home base that kind of moves around, which would be a cool idea. We've never really, like, I guess Starfield had that, but otherwise we haven't had like a house that can move around, right? Like that's just not really a thing in Fallout or Elder Scrolls naturally. So I think it could be I don't know, ground for some cool stuff there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like just what you're talking about there with the skills, I really hope we're not just going in this same direction that we had with like I love Skyrim. You know, it's definitely not a perfect game. There's many things I have grievances with, and a big part of that is just the one hero can do everything and be the leader of every guild and just all these things. It's so funny when you're like deep on one of those playthroughs and you come across an NPC and he's like, it's like, hey, I know who you are, Hail Sithis, because you're like the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. And then like the next guy is like, oh, you're the leader of the Thieves Guild. And then he just like keeps going off in like the same town. It's just, I don't know, it's memeable, but for an RPG, it takes the immersion out so much. And then of course, like on my playthroughs now, I just kind of make it that way. Like this is gonna be my archer, or this is gonna be my magic user. And I don't know, I feel like it just really takes a lot out of the RPG element when if it's like you have a D&D character and you have no flaws, like you just have like all plus modifiers, and it's just like that's not an intriguing character. Like you want flawed characters and to have weaknesses. So I do hope we I don't know, I'm kind of worried that we are just going to keep going in this because they want to make it reachable to all audience members, right? Like they want everyone to be able to jump in there and have fun, but maybe it's just a hardcore setting or something, you know, where you can like go back to where it's like skill points and you actually have to like invest them properly. But I don't know. I'll wait and judge to see what happens there. But I feel like that's been a grievance of a lot of Elder Scrolls fans, like kind of when it went from Oblivion to Skyrim and just kind of RPGs in general. I feel like a lot of RPGs these days are going in that more simple route, but there's definitely some that don't do that because, of course, like
trying to sand off the edges naturally.
Yeah.
That's kind of happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else from this leak stuff that stood out to you? For me, it was mostly that like ship sailing sort of things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, there's something else I saw in there. It was just kind of talking about the like the deserts and the one line on there is like many real life influence from Egypt to Pharaohs and the Alakir Desert. Okay. I want more deserty biomes in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Just stuff with Khajiit and the Alakir. Really cool designs on the warriors, but we just never see those worlds. And, you know, when I'm coming
other than beaches, I can't, like, think of any, and even those aren't, like, in Skyrim, I don't think they're, like, really sandy. They're just, like, rocky. So that's, it's something I even thought about, but, like, there isn't really a lot of deserts that I've experienced in my Elder Scrolls hundreds of hours of my life.
And, you know, consoles are ready to handle sand. Like, let's get in there. That's
every grain I want to be rendered. Yeah,
I want footprints. I want sandy footprints. But when I'm coming across,
I want to see the spice
caravans
in the air.
You start hallucinating, eyes go all blue. But just hearing about these Khajiit caravans and the sands of elsewhere and just the warmy deserts. Like, I want to go to those areas, and I mean, if there's water, there's got to be some beaches, especially if it's a more Mediterranean, temperate, islandy area, which I imagine it would be. I don't know. Every time I think about Elder Scrolls 6, I just get excited because I'm like, what it could be, right? All these, these possibilities.
I mean, I think next to Cyrodiil, maybe someone said I was got to open up the Tamriel map. Like, I think Hammerfell is one of the largest provinces in the on the world, and Morrowind gets tricky if you add the mainland with the Vardenfell, which is where the game takes place in Elder Scrolls 3. But because of that, naturally, like kind of in the Cyrodiil sort of way, you're in theory going to get a lot more diversity in the biomes. Now, even like in Skyrim, obviously it's kind of northern, cold, whatever, but they still have like a bunch of different vibes, but it is a little more muted than what you get in something like Cyrodiil, which is a bit of a, jack of all trades, master of none situation. But I feel like Hammerfell is another opportunity where whether it's coast, sandy stuff, getting down to like maybe some more forest stuff, you get pretty northern in the map too. So maybe you even get some snowy zones as well. So I feel like there's really some opportunity to just wherever they want to put their resources for some really good amount of variety, which is going to be hundreds of hours of fun exploration there.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Orgrimmar is in Hammerfell. It's in like one of the sections. Okay. That's where the orcs are from. And it's
I always forget that they don't have like their own province.
Orgrimmar actually moves around because Hammerfell just keeps wiping them out. Like the orcs just are this race that is just kind of always on the run. They're always getting wiped out. People just hate them. And man, that would be such an interesting storyline if they implemented that in Elder Scrolls 6 of just like like the misunderstoodness of what of what the orcs are. Just a really really cool faction. There's a couple like orc encampments in Skyrim, maybe
Yeah.
in some other games, and you get like a little scratch of the surface of what it is. But that would be really cool going into that,
Mm-hmm.
and just with Malakath, like their god, which is actually a Daedric lord, but just like what like the positives that they view out of him, and just kind of the whole backstory of that would be really really enticing for a juicy Elder Scrolls 6 storyline. Doesn't have to be the main game,
Mm-hmm.
but just like a side quest or a
Yeah.
guild faction sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be really cool if they blew that out into like a fighters guild, mages guild, sized quest line, or like
Yeah,
that really got that amount of space and time and like different characters, locations, and whatnot. That'd be really
totally.
cool. They
Yeah,
deserve
man.
it. Those
I think
orcs.
even the Forsworn are like kind of in Hammerfell because it's like they kind of have a crossover area of
Okay.
I like you said I kind of have to pull up the map to like know exactly what's going on, but I know they have some crossover between oh my gosh, my favorite race, what do they call it? Where's Britain's from? It's not Hammerfell, it's Daggerfall.
Right. Yeah.
I think maybe they're mostly in that, but I thought maybe they crossed over into Hammerfell a little bit also.
Yeah. I mean, that's also bordered with it to the north, right? So they're next to
Yeah,
each other. Yeah.
there you go. For the Forsworn.
There you go. There's some good Elder Scrolls chat. I think with that we can take our first ad break and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. Who knows when Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out, but we now have a better idea of when GTA 6 is going to come out. It is not this year. It has been officially kicked to next May, so May 2026. I don't know how much there is to say to this because, like, we're still kind of just waiting in the wings for this. A very unsurprising push for me, but one that I'm sure was a breath of fresh air for many developers, just because, so many I think companies want to stay away from releasing their game directly before, directly after, anywhere near GTA, and now this whole fall season opened up even into like early winter games of next year, and now they just got to watch out. So I think it's good for developers to have that official date. I think because of that we will probably see more release dates around like a summer game fest than we maybe would have before. A lot of companies maybe like, okay, we have a trailer ready to show things off, but we're not going to stick a date on this till we know what GTA is doing, and now we at least have an idea that GTA is going to be 1 year away, so that offers like quite a few months there to plop a game down. So I'm excited to see what that means, even if that's not something we never really get confirmation of. It's more just like I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of that now. But I guess any thoughts on this? And also, do you think this is the final date, or do you think it gets potentially booted again?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the last date was the for sure date. I was in the camp of like, yeah, it's sticking. It's for sure dropping then. So I was kind of surprised by this news. So that being said, I think the next date is this date. I think it is the for sure date.
Okay.
I was just kind of looking back on the history of the GTA releases because I just always in my mind saw it as like a fall release. GTA 5 released in September, if I remember correctly, and then GTA 4 was actually in April. So
Okay, so all over the
around
place.
that time also, and then San Andreas was October. So it's kind of they kind of keep
Mm,
alternating.
right.
Probably not on purpose, but I mean, yeah, there's not much more else to say about this. I'm gonna get it when it comes out. That's
Yeah.
I said I'm being picky and choosy when it comes to video game releases lately. GTA is just one of those where it's like a unicorn. If you get the opportunity, you got to jump on that. It doesn't matter if it's a. I mean, we'll see what the price tag is when it comes out.
Yeah. $200 maybe.
Yeah. I better get a fucking skateboard with that. When they had like the
Skateboard.
the Tony Hawk like ride game where you have to like get the skateboard. I better get like something to go with my my GTA
Yeah.
purchase if I'm dropping $200.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to be too disappointed about this because we haven't really seen a lot of the game. We still only have that one trailer, right? So it's like I
No
think we're just
gameplay
kind of.
either, right? If I'm not
Yeah, I don't
mistaken.
think so.
Yeah.
I think there's some in-engine stuff, and then obviously there's all those leaks where we saw some gameplay, but that stuff was even
Right.
pretty like years old at this point. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. My guess would be that I don't know, maybe Game Awards trailer, but then even then, like I think GTA or Rockstar like to just kind of do their own thing because they don't need to go to these shows. They can just drop
They
a
could shadow
trailer.
drop it, and it would be
Yeah,
like
like
the
GTA
biggest game
6
ever.
trailer was like the biggest trailer of all time or something like that, right? Just even they just dropped it on a random day. So I don't know. I maybe they do something later this year in the fall, but I guess they could just wait until next year to even start advertising it more.
I feel like memes do more for like the advertisement than than like
Sometimes,
Rockstar
yeah.
ever does for GTA, where it's just like we got GTA 6 delays before GTA 6, like those type of memes, which are just hilarious by this point. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, the
Yeah.
world is buzzing and it will do well when it comes
Yeah.
out.
Well, something that's coming out this May is Elden Ring Nightreign. So this is the Elden Ring 3-player online co-op situation. And there was a nice little 10-minute. Yeah,
I like the way you describe that.
I used way too many words to describe. Everyone knows what this game is. I don't know why I felt like they need to set it up. We got a 10-minute overview trailer that showed off a bit of the structure of the game, kind of reinforced some of the characters, some of the other features of this thing. I felt like it was a pretty good 10-minute powwow situation, like pretty quick, but offered like a pretty good amount of information. I do have a couple questions that I'll ask you about, but yeah, you brought this to my attention. It totally slipped on my radar. So are you pretty hyped for this game? Did this overview trailer increase or decrease that hype? What's going on with you in Nightreign?
Yeah, I mean, minor spoilers for the games I've been playing. I've been going really hard in Elden Ring, so we'll cover that when we get there.
You can go into that now too if you want. I mean, if it's thematic, go for it. Yeah, up to you.
I've been going extremely hard on Elden Ring as of late. I think last time I was on here, I was telling you about my Dark Souls journey, and I had a really bummer moment where, not even gameplay wise, like I was just adventuring with my character, and he was bugging the fuck out. Like I use Halberd on Dark Souls 1. That's my go-to weapon. And I was just twitching as I was moving along.
Buzzing, okay.
And it's like totally a visual bug. Like it's nothing to do with gameplay. But it was really bothering me. Like even just running around fighting, like I just kept seeing my character like twitching around.
Wow.
And I was like, what is going on? I rebooted it. I reinstalled the game even, which is like, I don't think I've ever done that on PlayStation, but I'm like, who knows? I got to try everything. Uninstalled it, reinstalled it. Still same thing.
Wow.
Really bummed my progress because like.
Did you Google it? Are other people have other people have this issue?
So I found what the reasoning was. It actually has nothing to do with my PlayStation or the game. It's actually my controller, which I've never had this before on PlayStation. Yeah, my newest controller I bought got a nice purple. Looks so gorgeous. It's new, but like a year or so old now. But the analog stick, when I'm holding up, it's as if I'm just going like back to forth really, really quickly. Like really, really quickly. It doesn't happen all the time. But I guess just like moving forward.
Is it drift? Like if you don't hold the controller, does it move at all?
It doesn't drift. No, it's only when I'm doing the input. It's as if I'm just twitching out, and maybe it's my own use because I feel like I do kind of get twitchy sometimes, especially in a game like that when you're just like really getting deep. You're getting into those moments. But yeah, no, I realized it after I kind of put the controller down on Dark Souls because I was just so bummed. I'm like, man, like this has nothing to do with gameplay wise, but it's just actually bothering me that much that I don't want to play this anymore. That sounds annoying. Yeah. So I kind of halted that, and then just because I was in the Soul Sphere, I booted up Elden Ring. And then I just randomly was using a different controller because I have two controllers. I wasn't using that same one. So one day when the battery was dead, switched out to the other one. And then I realized I was doing the same movement. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the controller? And never would have thought of that because I've never had an issue like that. Even
that
on
is
PS4.
so weird and specific. Yeah.
Super, super strange. And I mean, it could be worse. It could be the controller drift, like what you're, because that's like, you know, my Joy-Cons on my Switch do that. I feel like they're pretty notorious for that, especially the early
My Xbox
Switches.
controller had that too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer when it happens, but so yeah, that put the halt on Dark Souls. I'll get back there one day, not using that same controller because that.
Did you make it to the Crystal Caves yet, or is that on?
I'm not in the Crystal Caves yet. I think I'm at the entrance. Like I'm in. Like I've already seen Seath. I think that's his name. Like I've already been murked by him. Minor spoilers. First time you come across him, he just kills you. Like it's like a for sure kill. He will kill you because I think you need like a crystal to make him vulnerable later on, and that's what I was going for. So I was in that section.
Gotcha.
It's funny. You stopped at that in the Crystal Caves. I kind of stopped at that area, but it wasn't actually for the gameplay. It was for
very different reasons. Yeah.
For the controller. I'll report back on that one. But no, I went really hard on Elden Ring. Breaking the Fourth Wall here. Shay went to Europe for 2 weeks, and that was what I spent my time on. I watched a lot of Dexter, and I jumped into the lands between. And man, Elden Ring. I'm not done it yet, but like this has to be easily, I want to say, top 5 favorite games of all time. Like,
whoa, like nice.
I won't say too much spoilers for people who haven't played the game, and like I don't even think
the game's like 100 years old. You can go for it. Spoil whatever you want.
Okay, the Raya Lucaria area. Like the first time I went into that zone, just like the swampiness with like the big academy in the background, and it's foggy, and there's just these like creepy things on horses in those zones. I literally just stopped there and like like just stared at the academy, and I'm like, what is this game? Like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my life. This is so incredible.
The
And
amount of
that
moments that game has is
I was just gonna say, like
insane.
that. Yeah, it's happened like 7 times where I just have to
Yeah.
stop and like look at the Elden Ring, or it's not the Elden Ring, the Erd Tree, and I'm just like,
Just pulls out your box, like
yeah.
opens the box.
I'm like, man, what is this world? Like, this is just so immersive, and I just, yeah, I think, it was funny. I dropped Shay off at the airport, got back. It was on Easter Friday, so I had the day off. I literally played Elden Ring for 12 hours straight
Fuck
without
yeah.
stopping. Like I don't think I've had a serious gaming session like where like I literally didn't stop, and I only knew that because I had started my character. By the time I logged out, it was 2 in the morning, and it said I had 12 and a half hours of playtime. And I'm like, I literally made that character at the start of the session. This is insane. But yeah, I am so just in love with that game. I've been playing it so much. A little bit less since Shay's been home because I've been spending time with her, which
Sure.
has been really nice. You know, she had a great trip. But yeah, and like, there's definitely been moments when I've like been stuck, but I just love how you can, if you get stuck, you just go somewhere else. And like, you know,
Yep.
like there's just so much to explore in that world. There were so many zones that I didn't even like Limgrave, where you start. Like, I feel like I kind of zoomed by that area really quickly, so I went back on it, and they're kind of like starting dungeons. So I was just like one shotting the
Popping off,
bosses
yeah.
by that point when I'm level like 65 or whatever when I went back to that zone. But yeah, I'm really glad I like got deep into Dark Souls before I jumped in there, because I just felt way better at just knowing how to handle
Right, timings and
situations.
all that.
Mechanics are definitely different, including like just having a jump. That's such a big thing to get used to, especially if you're used to playing Dark Souls 1, where it's very basic, like forward attack, like that's your jumping attack in that game. You like in Elder Scroll, or oh my gosh, I'm talking about Elder Scrolls too much. In Elden Ring, like I'm just spamming jump now, where I feel like if I go back to Dark Souls now, I'm gonna be like trying to jump all the time. I just get so ingrained in that. But yeah, the boss battles are phenomenal, so well designed. The areas are just incredible. Soundtrack is just so beautiful. I've been listening to the track like even just at work now. It's just it gets me so hyped. And what was I gonna say? Oh, the specific boss battle I wanted to shout out was the Renala, like at the Ray Lucaria boss battle. So creepy and unique, and it's not even a hard boss battle, but like the first time you go there and just these dolls are like falling from the ceilings and they're just dragging their bodies and like singing these lullabies. Just so many moving pieces to that boss battle. I was just so amazed by it. And then of course the second stage where you go to the beautiful moonlit area.
Yeah.
It's just, man, like it blows my mind playing that game, and it happens so many times where it just blows my mind. So yeah, I am peaking on Elden Ring. So of course when we got
Hell
this
yeah.
Nightreign overview, I was super hyped. Unfortunately, I feel like this, I don't want to say it killed it for me, but now that I know more about what the game is, I am a lot less like itching to get back in there. I don't know. It's just because it is a Souls-like game, but it's an online experience for that, right? Like you don't like, you're not just making your character and going in there playing with your friends. Like, you're playing as these specific characters, which like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just maybe that's not the type of experience I'm looking for. Like when I play Dark Souls, Elden Ring, like I've never really interacted with the online mode, like the PvP element. Like I'm never using those tarnished fingers or whatever the hell they are, the furled fingers.
Yeah.
I'm not really invading people or anything like that. However, that being said, I was really impressed by like what was shown. I think it's a really cool idea of it just being like, it's not Limgrave, it's Limvale, I think is what they said. So it just seems like
right.
it seems like you're crossing over in the same areas, but just a different time era. Like they're showcasing some of the statues of Marika, I think that's her name, like the goddess, and like they're not like broken, you know. It's like at a time when they're still pretty relevant and people are using them. That's just how it kind of feels. I'm sure like all Souls games, like it's this weird thing with time where it's kind of a weird chronological order of things. But I like the setup even of it just being, you kind of have multiple days to hunt down these things. You kind of spend it different strategic ways than like just you know, it's basically making it so it has unlimited replayability, because the areas kind of change. I thought that was really intriguing, but I just think for what the game is, it's a little bit different than what I was thinking it being, and it's just not necessarily the Souls experience I'm itching for right now. But that being said, like man, I had a lot of fun playing Ghosts like online, like Ghost of Tsushima, right? And like it kind of is a similar thing to that of just you
It
have
was
like
giving me a bit of Legends vibes, no
Legends,
doubt.
that's what it was called, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, like I like the characters that were showcased. It was weird because I liked kind of everything that I was seeing. It was just like, okay, yeah, this is it's a different show than maybe I was expecting to be buying a ticket for. It's not a full price game, which definitely helps, but as I've already
Yeah, did you see
said
how
it
much it
multiple
is?
times, I did not, but
Let me see if I can find that.
I assumed it was going to be in like the $60 range. Of course, it's like I would have assumed it's a $40 game, but now all the prices of games have just gone up, so it's probably more closer to 70.
Let me tell Steam that I was born in 1962 real
Yeah.
quick.
Do you always use your a fake date of birth for that? Do you just
I
use
just
like the quickest
scroll
one?
super far back,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, looks like it's 53 Canadian
Okay.
dollars for Nightreign.
Okay, yeah. I think Split Fiction was same price, so like in that
Okay.
kind of a Miles Morales type price zone, like those types of
Mhm.
which fits for what the game is. Like I wouldn't expect to be paying $90 for what this game is. But I thought it was a really good overview, as you kind of already stated. Like I think it answered pretty much like the main questions that I was needing to get for jumping in there. It's funny too, now that I played just Dark Souls and Elden Ring now, like I was at least like recognizing a lot of elements of like maybe like a boss that randomly appears. A lot of them I didn't recognize. I don't know how much are like original for this title, but just the isms of specifically Elden Ring, because of course this is an Elden Ring Nightreign, so it still has like the same like sound effects and just all those little mechanics that Elden Ring has. It was very recognizable with that. But I did like just seeing the different variations of the one character. Can't remember his name, but he has like wings essentially. He like flies up and then like storms down, like stuff like that. Like I'm sure this is gonna be a really fun time. And of course, if you have some buddies to jump in there with, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, who knows? We'll have to coordinate if the three of us get it. The three of us being whoever is down.
Yeah. No, that's funny. Like that's such a part of the calculus these days is like, okay, if I get this co-op game, and this is, one of the issues we have with this is that like this is a strictly co-op game, like you need a party of 3, or I guess maybe you could queue randomly, but you can't queue with 2 people. You can't play it single player. Like you need this party. And it's like, okay, how often do we have the ability to all like do a Call of Duty night, and like
Right, yeah.
that's kind of rare on a weekday. It's just not happening because we podcast, half those nights. The other nights, if I want to play Travis or something, he's got 700 kids, and it's like, when am I going to get a chance to play with him? Like, I don't know. It's just like the amount of time that I'd have to sink into this makes it like a hard purchase. Like, I think if it was a $20 or $30 DLC, or if it was like its own standalone, $20, $30 thing, I think it'd be for sure I'd be picking up. But for the current price, I just don't know how much I'll be able to wring that out, especially when, once again, I still have such a big backlog of From Software games that I really should go back to and like finally beat those games. I keep complaining about Crystal Caves, but I probably should just look up a guide, hack this boss, and then like get past it and finally beat that game, and then like go back and beat these other games that I haven't done yet. So I don't know. It's just I still don't. I gotta say, this overview trailer got me really hyped, and I was like, oh, I really want to play this now, but I still have enough hangups with it that I don't think it's going to be a purchase for me. So we'll see if someone, just considering that like this comes out days before the Switch 2, which and then a few weeks after that, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong, all these other things, like it's just going to be a barrage like right when this game's coming out. So the release date's not great either. Like if this come out at the start of the year, or if it was pushed next year or something, maybe. But I think just with the current time frame, I might just wait for a steep discount on it and pick it up later down the road, which that might be the best way to do it when there's more content and more things anyway. So yeah, I guess some of the specific details. So obviously, we kind of had an idea this was a bit of a roguelike situation, but it seems like they've given a little bit more information about that, where it seems like it's each session is like a 3-day section, and that's split specifically into like a daytime and a nighttime. Nightreign obviously being the name of the game. Like that's when things get a little bit more crazy or severe, like stronger enemies, or maybe there's more like random shit that's happening at that point in time. But I was a little confused about just like the timeline of that. Like how long is one of these sessions? Because From Software, great games, but they also are really janky in terms of some quality of life things. Like you can't pause these games, and you can't you can save and quit at different points, but like it's always a little bit janky. You got to be careful when you do this stuff. Lose souls if you don't do this thing. So I just feel like, especially with like the adding the multiplayer on there, obviously it's gonna be like lobby based, I would imagine, so easier. You don't have to use these venerable old furled fingers as you were talking about there, which is great. But I just feel like I don't know, like how long of a session do I have to commit to?
Right.
Because I don't think this is a thing where I can, oh yeah, me and Kirkland, we have 20 minutes, let's hop on, do day one, save and quit. Like I can't expect that a From Software game is going to be that
Yeah.
convenient and easy to like access, you know?
I don't know. I feel like it might be that. Like especially if you're just jumping in with a crew and then like, okay, yeah, we're gonna start the session. Like that's when your time starts, and then I imagine you would be able to kind of end all at the same time, because that would be a tough task of like every time you play this, you have to be ready to go through those 3 days. Like that seems a
Yeah.
little bit ridiculous. And if they're trying to get that into like a time frame of just a gaming session, which especially for adults with kids and stuff, like you can't just sit there for 6 hours most of the time. I feel like if it is a shorter window, like that might not even be that enticing, because I feel like these games are so immersive. You just want you just want to jump in there and be engulfed in these universes. So it's tough for me to see like what the number would be for the day to the night to the what ends the day one. I could also see it being like kind of how, what can I compare it to? Something like Left 4 Dead, maybe. Like when you finish a chapter and then it gives you like your stats, breaks down, and then it like loads the next zone. I
Right.
could even see that happening at the end of,
Okay,
which is,
yeah.
it's funny because it is so not From Software, but this is a very different thing that they've done in the past anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
so just,
to as like a counterpoint though, like one thing that seems like they're highlighting here too is like, okay, in between these I don't know, maybe not in between days, but in between missions, you're gonna go to the round table hold, which is like different than the round table hold in Elden Ring. It's a little more, it looks a little castle area, some grass and whatnot. And it seems like that's where you're going in between, that's where you're leveling up, doing your stats, la-di-da, queuing up with stuff. And so it seems like it's not just gonna be like a menu, which I like. I like having to contextualize things, but it makes me feel like, I don't know, just there's a little bit more friction there. Like if I just want to boot up a game, how quickly can I do that? Is it like an Outlast thing where I got to go in my lobby, wait to invite my friends, we got to, play chess for 5 minutes while we wait for this other guy. Everyone goes, does their upgrading, whatnot. And then we all go to the terminal, we hit the thing,
Yeah.
then we go to the thing, it loads, we finally pop into the thing, now we're playing the game. Like I just don't know how much like different points of contact there is going to be if I just want to hop
Right.
in there, which I don't know. It seems like there will be. So I don't know if this game is
Yeah.
crossplay either, because if it did, just make it easier to play with like friends who are playing on PC,
Yeah.
Xbox, stuff like that. So that's something to look into too.
yeah, for sure. I could also see the round table hole. Well, maybe they even covered it in the video that I missed on, but I could see it just being kind of the staging area, like when you're finding friends, like that's just where you're running around. I feel like just I'm blanking on a game to pull that has that, but like Destiny kind of has that. I mean, even Outlast Trials, it was kind of like that to an extent, right? Before you load into a mission. So I could kind of see it being like that, but it also seems like you're gearing up before you jump into. But like that's also where you're doing cosmetics for characters, so I would imagine you'd be able to kind of choose multiple in that sequence. So yeah, a little bit unclear on that sequence, but I'm interested in a little bit more details on how long the days are. And it would also be cool if you can kind of tweak it. Like you can kind of customize the settings a little bit. Like I'm a lot less, because I feel like Souls, like there's no difficulty slider in these games, but there's tiers of Souls players, right? There's people that go in there, they don't level up, and they just one shot every boss, like no hits. And then there's people like me that fucking struggle, and they try and get a lot of armor and stuff to just like tank bosses, because sometimes that's what you got to do. You like there's just different strategies to it, different levels to these games, and I think that would be really cool if you could kind of, pardon me, tweak it to a certain extent to just kind of make it more enjoyable for different types of players, because there is such different types of Souls players, even though they're all kind of playing the same games. So yeah, I'm maybe that's something I would have been wanting to get a little bit more detail here in this overview trailer, but it's we're still going to be getting more what's the word I'm looking for, just more trailers, I guess. I would imagine at least one
Maybe
more.
I mean the game's coming out in a few weeks, so this might be the last like major one. We'll probably get one more juicy one, launch
actually,
trailer kind of thing.
That's a good point, and I have
There's no
seen,
showcases between then and now, I don't think.
I didn't watch any of them, but when I watched the overview, I just saw my YouTube algorithm was giving me a couple channels of people that have played the game. So they probably.
I should check out some of those impressions.
yeah.
I haven't heard any of those yet.
Didn't see the person, didn't see it. All I saw was the thumbnail. It's like, I got to play 7 hours of Nightreign. So it's like one of those.
Okay, cool.
So,
I'll go check some of
got
those
some
out.
answers. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the roguelike part of it, that's something I'm really curious about in terms of the level design. Like, is it just okay, the maps are the same, and you get like a randomized set of maps, but then like the things are changing, like the enemies, the loot, maybe like a dungeon, maybe those could load into like a slightly different variation that could be random, because I feel like such a big part of Elden Ring, but even just any other Souls game, whatever, is like, man, the level design is so fucking top notch. I feel like From Software doesn't get enough credit for being just some of the best like level designers. We talk about like so many other elements of the games, but like that was something I was so shocked by in Dark Souls 3 in terms of like the way these maps are layered on top of each other and hidden pathways and things that open, or just the sight lines, with the Elden Ring thing. And obviously Dark Souls 1 gets a lot of praise for like how interconnected the world is, but I think all the games, even if they are the more like, I don't know, more linear ones, they still have insane level design. And Elden Ring, a game that's open world and has, stuff everywhere, it still feels like every area is so intentionally designed. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the randomization has an effect on that. If it adds to it by like, oh, I'm shocked because I normally every time I walk up this plateau, there's this thing here, but now it's slightly different, or there's rocks over in the way, whatever.
Yeah.
And, one of the characters can like spawn little towers that you can jump up on too. So just little ways that you can maneuver. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what that's like. And then, they're saying there's meteors, or sometimes there's a volcano, like obviously things like that too, like bigger things that will change the environment. So that's something I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah. I think another thing that really got me excited about this is like I'm nowhere near a deep, so like I'm a Souls fan now, but like the biggest Souls fans that have played every game, gotten platinum on all these titles, like they know every enemy type, like all these things. Like it's gonna be so cool for those types of people playing it, and like just a random boss that from like, I don't know, Dark Souls 2, it like appears and they're like,
Right.
oh my god, this is awesome. Like even when they were showcasing the meteor dropping, like it looks like they had kind of like the Witches of Izalith's like chaos sorcerers, which is a big part of Dark Souls 1. So I thought that was really cool, just seeing stuff like that, of just, especially that it's random, right? Like randomly day 2, oh my gosh, look who it is. Like it's XYZ boss from this game. Like that's really cool. And I think from what was showcased here, I think this is a really cool game for Souls fans, of just like the world and stuff. And like I feel like the least interesting thing for me that was shown here is like you can find out more about these characters and how they got here. I'm like, that is so not what I'm like jumping into this game for.
Right.
But it's cool that it's there, I guess.
I will say I was pretty enthused when that section of the trailer.
Yeah?
I don't necessarily care about the backstory or like why they're here. And it's like, oh, here's this moody girl sitting on a bench. You want to know why she's here doing this? Like, yeah, I don't care about that so much. But I think for me, like From Software, another thing, the character designs, and like specifically we can look at the boss designs. That's the super iconic stuff. But just the designs of all the characters, their weird ass names, the funny things they say. Like I think their character designs are so engaging. Or like the pot, what is his name, Alex, like that you encounter.
Alexander
in,
the pot, the Iron Fist, they call him.
Like I love the weirdo freaks like that, and I think that's what seems so great. Like all the custom classes you can pick here, rather than you being a blank slate character, you can kind of fashion Souls that play whatever like whatever you want to look like, to get like set characters that you're playing as, and they all have like a cool ass name and like a cool conceit to them. I think it's something that's really compelling. So I have the list here, so we'll just go through them real quick. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's great that like half of them I'm immediately wanting to play, and other half I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about it, but that's totally fine, right? Because that's like, I wouldn't expect to have all these. But yeah, you got Wilder or Wilder, I don't know, didn't catch that. That's kind of like the balanced melee mobility. So that seems like the most like basic, like you're playing Mario, like that's like the most basic kind of sword and board sort of guy. Yeah. And then you have Guardian, who's the tanky defender with crowd control. So I think that's what the character you're talking about, who kind of has like the bird head and like the talons and like the one wing, and you can like move around, fly around, and then you can like set up AoEs to boost your teammates, and you're a little more of like a defender. And like, as far as that archetype, not really one I'm into, but I think they made this one look really compelling because it's like a movement-based defender one, and it's like has the support elements to it, which you wouldn't normally have in a From Software game. So that looked really cool. You have Duchess, who's like the fast, high-risk rogue character, so of course that's amazing. I think the one that stood out to me the most was called Recluse, which I love that name. This is like the elemental spellcaster and support who just has like the trippiest look ever. Kind of looks like Ronnie from Ronnie from
the Witch.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of looks like her a little bit, but like just doesn't even have skin, just like a void essentially, and then like obviously doing like cool magic and stuff. Like that one looks super
that like
cool.
ultimate ability that she had, I can't remember what it was called, but like
the soulless blood ball or whatever.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
So cool. And you have Iron Eye, who's the the loot enhancer. It says here, which I don't know what loot enhancer means, but yeah, that's the bow and arrow character, which Another thing from every From Software game, bow and arrows always have felt like complete trash. I think Elden Ring made them slightly better, but like I love bow and arrows in games. Never liked them in those games, but this one
Mm-hmm.
actually looks solid. Like it looks like they really improved the mobility and like the cleanliness of it. It just actually looks fun to control, and that character looks really cool with the movement abilities as well. You have Raider, who's like the strength-based berserker, so another kind of maybe basic sort of class there. Executor, who's the parry-based swordsman. So that's not me. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not the parry
parrying.
guy. I'm not the parry guy.
That's the Sekiro fans.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Where
the
you're
Sekiro
parrying
class.
every boss. Yeah.
And then you have the Revenant, who is a haunting musical summoner. So I also love that archetype. So
That's
I'm not
awesome.
normally drawn to the music type, or not music, the magic type characters or classes
Yeah.
abilities in From Software games, but I really am here. I think that's another thing too. Like I always like I'm not one to play these games over and over. I just do like one playthrough usually, and so because of that, I'm not going to be able to have access to all these different class types because these games are so specific on you need this level of stat in order to
Yeah.
even carry this weapon. You need it even higher to be able to use it, and then like you have kind of few enough resources that you can't upgrade like this wand or staff or whatever to make it usable in these fights. And so you kind of have to railroad to some extent. Now, I'm sure super hardcore fans like you, as you mentioned, like the people who can no armor, one shot
Yeah.
kill, like they know all this stuff. But for me, who just does one playthrough and I spend like 100 hours, I can really only do like one or two sort of subclasses. And so I like that in this, I can presumably just kind of load up any of these and instantly be decent, have like enough stats. And I think that's fun for me too. I can try out things that I've never had the opportunity to try out in Elden Ring, but also just specifically other From Software games.
No, it's well said. I think they did a good job at covering pretty much like, someone's gonna be able to make like, well, it's not this specific niche class, but like I think they did a good job of just covering like the main classes that you'd be kind of trying
And some weird
out
ones
in your
too.
Souls game.
Some like unconventional ones.
And like pairings of a class like the I can't remember his name that you just said, but just like the crowd control guy that also is like a little bit of a tank. Like that's just, I mean, it's different because I've never played a co-op Souls game before like this, but just a mixture like that is really intriguing. And even just seeing them like reviving people, like you just attack your ally and you'll revive. It's like that's so
I love
odd,
that.
but also
Yeah.
it fits Souls like so
Or shoot
well.
them with an arrow from a range. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
When you
I'll do
shoot
that.
magic at them, I was like, okay, that's one way to get them up. It's kind of funny, but
I love that they
yeah.
didn't even like try and change it to something that makes more lore sense. They're not like, oh, you have a regenerating blade that when you strike your
Yeah.
opponent, it brings them back to life. It's just like, just attack your teammates and then they will revive. Like I love how like to the matter of fact they were
So
about
simple.
that.
Yeah. But I did like what they showed with the classes. I don't know. I feel like I'm usually, it's hard for me to just pick a class and stick with it the whole way, which of course is a tricky pairing when you think of these Souls games because it's usually how they always
Yeah.
go. Luckily
50
with
to 100 hours. Like
Yeah.
really, you better lock in and be right.
Yeah,
with your
exactly. And,
character,
and like even just upgrading, right? Like you have to find a specific resource and then choose it on your weapon. So like
fucking
on my Elden
ancient
Ring-
somber dragon
Yeah.
smith stones. Like, no, I don't have enough of those.
yeah, not enough kidney stones to upgrade that weapon. But like I feel like on my Elden Ring, like I didn't even upgrade my weapon for a while because I'm like I don't know what to commit to. Like there's probably gonna be really cool weapons that I'm gonna come across in like 40 hours, and I'll want to use these kidney stones to upgrade them. So no, I like the idea that I can kind of jump in there. It's similar to how Ghost of Tsushima Legends did it, how they kind of had the archetype of a player to play, and just really cool aesthetics. I like that you can at least change the costumes, to a certain
that's
extent.
cool.
You can't fully customize them, but it's always appreciated to have
look
it in there.
amazing.
It's just a little bonus, like not needed, but like it doesn't hinder it by any means having that in there. So I really like the character showcasing. I feel like there's something else I was gonna throw in there, but I don't know. It was just really cool seeing the different powers used, and that's what I was gonna say. Is something that's really intriguing here is like in a lot of these games, like oh my god, what's it called? The game that I got that's Helldivers.
Helldivers.
It's similar to this where you jump in there with some lads, but like if you're level 152, like you get queued up with like a level 2 person, like if you grind out your character, like
because
you
of the
are
scaling
gonna be leveling.
and how
Yeah,
that works?
exactly.
Yeah,
You're gonna be
yeah.
leveling out your character, but here it sounds like at the start of day 1, like you're level 1. So depending on where you which
Okay.
route you go, you're gonna be To my understanding, that's what they said, because they said you started on day one at
Right.
level 1.
That was something I was a little confused about too, because I couldn't tell if
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're leveling up your guardian character every time you play them. Like, I'm sure there's a bit of, like, I guess like your costumes. I assume when you unlock a costume, you have it forever.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
maybe there's like certain things, like maybe you get new skills, but then like maybe like, your stats get reset at the one every day one. Maybe that's the way it works.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's that. I kind of hope it is, just because it seems like you really have to strategically choose what you're gonna do in your day, like how you're gonna maximize your XP gains and what
Seems
happens.
like they want you to adapt, and I think that's a
Yeah.
cool feature of a game like this. Normally, you just kind of get in your ways. Oh, I got the best machine gun. I'm only ever going to use that now. But it seems
Yeah.
like maybe they're going to put you on your feet every time, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not going to be coming across the same mobs that, like, maybe it's really easy to kill this wolf that's giving me a lot of XP, so I'm just going to keep doing that. But like the next time you go to day one, like they're probably not going to be in that zone that you're
Yeah.
expecting. And even the terrain sounds like it's kind of changing a little bit on each playthrough. So I am intrigued on if I'm really sucking ass and I'm not leveling up well, like, is it even possible to get to to day 3? Like, does it scale the same all the time, even if you're not doing well or whatnot? Like, I am curious on what the, I guess, actual difficulty of this is, which is kind of funny to say for a Souls game, because it's always just the one difficulty, but this is just a very different dynamic. And if we're all just really popping off on our level ups, like, are we just one-shotting the last boss? Like, is that what's going to be happening? But I have no idea. Yeah, I'm gonna be intrigued to get it. And honestly, the more we talk about this, the more excited I'm getting about this. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
I
how
hate
that's
the
working.
release date because I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm kind of talking myself into it almost.
Yeah. We'll coordinate on
see.
sales. We'll talk soon around sales.
Yes, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. There you go. There's Elden Ring and Nightreign. That's coming out. I think is May 30th. Whatever probably the last Thursday of the month is. That is the one. And with that, let's take our last ad break of the show, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So games we've been playing. Blueprints. Have you played any more Blueprints since our last convo? And how's that going?
I did. I'm trying to remember, because there was a couple new areas that I kind of discovered on my last playthrough. Like, did you? I kind of unlocked more of the outside stuff, like the gate. I opened up that
Okay.
and went to. There's kind of a. It's interesting. You get to this one building.
Yeah, let's.
and-
I'll just put. Let's open up the spoiler walls here. So
Yeah.
once again, there's timestamps in the description if people want to skip to the next sequence. Go for it. But let's just break open the spoiler gate for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Just like the way you broke open the side gate of the Blueprints.
I broke open the side gate, which I was able to get through the garage. Was I discovered a little
Yes,
bit more
right.
things with the garage. Able to get
Yep.
that door open.
Love the
Figured out
garage.
how to actually get the vehicle out of there. I, of course, didn't have my car key on that playthrough when I had everything opened. It didn't quite work out that way. Probably something I should have gave to my my coat check guy, on that specific playthrough.
I did that
So-
at some point, and I think
Yeah.
that's how I eventually got the car keys to the car. Was
Yeah. Did you
was
take the
through
car?
that.
Did you get out on the town with it?
Do you want me to answer this in complete?
Maybe not. Maybe not actually.
Okay. Okay. I will not then.
Okay. Yeah. No. I don't know.
I will
it's-
say I don't know if you realize this yet because it took me a while to realize this, and I think you're okay with this. Like the garage is always there. It's always on the fourth row of the
Oh, really?
leftmost thing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
that
how
makes
like
sense.
if you came from the outside, it'd be like the garage is always there. Why would that be? But it's like that's what I discovered. The room is always there, and obviously it's like a dead end. So no matter which way you come
Yeah.
at it, you'll always be given the option to it. Obviously, you could just not pick the garage, and then it wouldn't be there. But it'll always only ever be in that one spot, which is really
Okay.
great because it always has 3 keys, I think. So it kind of became like, okay, I'd pretty much always get it, even if I didn't need to use it, just because
Yeah.
guaranteed 3 keys is really nice.
I definitely didn't catch on to that. I found this one note that gave me a little bit more deets on like what specific rooms will be like are just more likely to spawn in certain areas, which really helped my just planning of it. So it's kind of cool how they drop those little hints here and there on helping you just build your strategy. I have so many photos on my phone of just notes I've
Yeah.
taken now because I'm not writing them down. I'm like, I got to remember this. I'm just gonna take a photo of this, refer back to it later on. So you got to the foundation level, I imagine.
I have got the foundation
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, so this is something I learned about afterwards, is that the foundation is not in a set spot. So where is your foundation?
Yeah, because when you get it, it's there forever, right? Like yours
there
won't move.
forever, yeah.
Yeah, mine. Well, now that you mentioned where the garage is, I'm pretty sure it's like right next to it, like right on the
interesting.
right
Okay.
side. Where's yours?
Mine is, I think, 4 rows up in the center, and then it's
Okay.
positioned such that it's like, I guess I can come from underneath or go up and then to the right.
Okay.
So it's pretty nice because it's pretty central, and then it has
Mm-hmm.
like a couple extra doors. So I usually try and gun it there because then it opens up a couple doors for me. I mean, sometimes they might be locked or have a security code thing
Mm-hmm.
on it, but it's in a pretty convenient spot, kind of dead center in the map.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think mine's four levels up, and then just right next to the where the garage would be.
Okay, nice. That's a
Um,
good spot.
I also never realized like how much like dirt mounds are specifically there. Like if you,
Yeah,
like there's like
always 3, I think, or 4.
yeah, 3 or 4 for sure. And
Yeah.
man, you can get some really juicy stuff out of there that really helps your run.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, through the garage I was able to open up that gate area, and then you get to can't remember what it's called, but
The exterior room
the
thing.
exterior room thing,
yeah.
and it can be a different very like I've had the shrine as one of them. One of them I think it was just like I don't know, like a shack.
Yeah.
thing.
I think I've seen all of those now because looking
Okay.
on like the glossary where you can see,
Yeah.
all the index pretty much. I think I've gotten all those outside ones. Unless you want, maybe you can unlock more. I'm sure you can unlock more. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've seen all of them at least once now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a while since I've jumped into it.
Mhm.
But I don't even know. I think I just stopped because I was getting frustrated at one point. I just felt like I kept hitting the same dead end like every time,
Yeah.
or maybe I just felt like I'm getting close and then 2 steps back.
Did you ever open the orchard gate? Did you ever get that open?
I did. Yeah.
Okay,
no,
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Because
it was,
that's a huge help. Hey, extra 20
man.
steps there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Huge. And it was the type of like reveal that when it happened, I'm so glad you didn't just spoil it for me because I felt like Sherlock Holmes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I see it. I see the code. Like it's really
the
really cool
magnifying
usage
glass on
there.
the tree and the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, the magnifying glass, like I definitely did not realize what the mechanic really was with magnifying glass. It's like, oh, okay, well if your eyes don't work well, yeah, it helps you read the notes a little bit better. But like you zoom into something that clearly has no hidden message, and then you zoom in on it, and you're like, oh my God, there's actually a hidden message there.
They did a
So,
good job with that.
yeah, so I'm glad I realized that. Really valuable resource because I felt like in my earlier runs, every time I picked it up, like I just wasn't even really interacting with it because I just didn't know the full extent of what you could do with it. But yeah, no, it's a hard game. I don't know.
Super hard. Yeah.
I feel like those puzzle games, the ones that are like that is the game is a puzzle like game like that. Like I have a very unsuccessful rate of like actually beating those types of games. I think The Messenger is one. If I remember correctly, it's kind of similar. You're like going through just different puzzles. There's been many different titles, iterations of that type of game, but I feel like it's
Never
few and
with
far between.
roguelike though. That's kind of like the mix up here, I
Yeah.
feel like, which I
Yeah,
think
good point.
works. Some people love it. I think I brushed a little bit against that. So I guess for me, I've now made it to room 46. So I've rolled
Nice.
credits on the game. And it was a crazy run, that one, because I was going through the house, everything was going really good. I got a lockpick kit early on, so I could just conserve. I had
Nice.
like shit ton of keys by the end of it. I opened up, I got maybe just one of the like antechamber doors open, and then I won't spoil. I don't think. Have you opened the door to room 46?
I've
at
opened
this
the
point?
door, but I haven't gotten to it.
Okay. Yeah, so I've did all this other stuff, was pretty much set up for success, but because of the way I was getting the rooms drawn, I only had one access point to the antechamber. There's like 3 separate doors, whatever.
Yeah.
I could only get to one of them, and so I was like, I really got to hope for something good here. Thankfully, I had a lot of extra steps, so I went back through the whole house, opened up some other like dead end areas I hadn't done yet, just trying to get as many dice as I could, so I could like re-roll if I got a shitty room that didn't give me direct access. Didn't find any. I could not find anything. Still had a few steps, thankfully. I think I got like the diner or the dining hall and got like a nice meal, and so I could like stack up on steps. Made it back there. I'm like, okay, if I don't get a room that gets me in here, I'm not gonna quit this game, but I am like officially salty at like the RNG of this game. But I opened it, got the gym, gave me direct access, made it into room 46. So that felt really good. Finally beat it. And then when it was done that, I've done a couple more runs, found a couple more new rooms. Like once you beat it there's still a ton of other stuff to do, and there's still so many secrets and things I haven't uncovered. But like it unlocks a couple additional things once you have like I guess beat it once. And I don't know if you have to beat it multiple times in order to unlock other things. I'm not sure about all that. But on my notepad where I was keeping all my notes, I had essentially like a quest log of like 7 or 8 things. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what I got to do with this. I just need like the right generation of rooms to show up for me to be able to do this thing. And then I started to listen to like some podcasts and look up some things just to confirm or deny. And most of like the hunches I had were kind of proven correct. And then obviously there's like layers on top of it. But it kind of just made me realize like I'm okay. I got to room 46, and I think that's where I'm gonna leave it, just because all the other things that I want to do, I know exactly how to do them. It's just like I just got to get super duper lucky that like the boiler room is next to whatever room, and it just, to me, that's not super engaging for a game like this that doesn't have like great game feel like compared to other roguelikes where it's just super fun to play over and over again and see the crazy builds. So in this, it's less engaging in that way. And so I think for me, the roguelike structure, it really worked to get to room 46, and that was a really engaging linear progression for me, or non-linear, I guess, because of how weird this game is. But I think after that, like, there is still tons of things I would love to know about this game, but the actual journey to get there, I think, would just make me hate this game. And so I think I'm going to like put it down there. So, I had a great, like, whatever it was, like 20, I think it took me 18 hours to get to room 46. And then I've probably put another like 2 or 3 hours and seen some other cool new rooms, but I think I'm okay to leave it there at this point. So overall, I did really, really enjoy it, but I think, yeah, if I kept going and kept digging, I would end up just like really butting my head against it, because it's just not really my type of game in that sort of way. But I think it was a really solid like 20 hours of play for me. I know some people are getting 100 hours of it. 20 hours was great for me. That was like a perfect time to step out there.
That's so fun. You just reminded me, I randomly saw, I don't even know where it was, but it was like, this is what 1,000 hours of Last of Us looks like. And it's just like this guy like mastering this level. I'm like, who the fuck plays a game like this for that long? That doesn't make any sense. But so when you got to room 46, 7, which one is it? 46?
46, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking of Agent 47. Did you get all of the slots filled?
All the slots filled.
Like,
which slots?
You have blanks on the rooms that you're like trying to fill all of them.
I see.
Did you manage to? Oh, okay. Mm-mm. But you're still able to roll credits. I wasn't sure if that was like a requirement to beat the game.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much. I don't want to like spoil stuff, but there's like the 3 separate doors that get you into room 45, or I guess the middle center one. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's just the idea. There is like, you could open multiple of those doors and go in different ones, and then I guess if you had a god run where you were able to open all 3 of those, then you would just have such high odds that you're going to make it in there. So I think that's kind of more the idea. But I'm sure there is some secret tied to putting down rooms and like filling out the entire map. I was never able to do that. I tried that a bunch to fill out all, I guess, 45 in one run, but I could never make that happen. I think you would need really good luck or just grind, because there is like so many progression. There are other progression things, so you can start with money and other things like this, but I didn't quite get that far.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I feel like that motivates me more, because there's many times when I would get into a spot where I forget a dead end, and then it's like one of the corners I just can't get to. I'm like, well, I just ruined my run. I can't even get into the zone. And then in my mind, I thought I had to like fully fill it up to get to the end zone.
Do you know how to open the 3 doors to room 45?
I got one of them open once, or I think I've had 2 of them open once, where there's like handles in like the garden on the one side at least. I've never opened the bottom one, I don't think. I think I've only ever opened the side 2.
Okay. So you've got at least 2 or 3. Yeah, I mean, I think my recommendation for you and like other people is like, get to room 46, and like if you're really, really jiving for it, keep going. But I think to me that's like a really, I mean, that is kind of like the credits of the game, and I think that works. And then there's like a million more layers to it. And I can't recommend or not recommend those things because I haven't got to them yet, just because I decided to bow out at the right time. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting to room 46. I think that's, for me, it was really satisfying to like finally put that run together and get that successful roll of the credits. And then, you get a couple fun little, story beats when you get there, and of course, all that sort of stuff. So to me, that would be like a good stopping point. So I'd recommend you do that. And I think it sounds like you're pretty freaking close. It sounds like right after this, you could go do it if you got the right run. Yeah, in like a half an hour. So it sounds like you're right there. And especially now that you have the 20 extra steps from the orchard, I feel like that was probably slowing you down for quite a few days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's times when I would have like I'm like, this is promising, and then I'm backtracking and I realize I'm actually running out of steps, and like that's such a bad feeling, especially if you don't have like a nice meal to go to.
Yeah.
You know, you get that good fish meal that just coordinates really well with your. Which one does that work well with? I can't even remember now. It's like the
Probably the
fishery,
aquarium?
I guess. Yeah, the aquarium. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever actually was able to like get the dining hall bonus. I think I only ever just
Yeah.
got like its default 15 or 20
was
steps,
rare.
which is great. I mean, that's usually all you need, but I don't think I've ever actually got the bonus somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know what you get if you finally do that. But anyway, there you go. There is Blueprints. Elden Ring. Was there anything else you wanted to shout out about Elden Ring or any other games, or should I jump into my other one here?
No, I don't think so. I'm
Okay.
intrigued about getting finally to the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. You jumped in that,
Yes.
didn't you?
Yep, I beat that.
Nice.
It was good. The last boss is absolutely fucked though. Super
Yeah,
duper
I've heard
duper
that from
hard.
people.
But
The
yeah.
Impaler, that guy?
He impaled
it
me.
different?
I don't think that was his name.
Mesmer the Impaler? I think that's
Oh
what
yeah,
he's called.
he's not the final boss. He is one.
Okay.
He has also kicked my ass many times. But
Yeah. He impaled
fuck
me.
that guy with his
That's
yeah. And you've just brought that because I totally forgot about him. But yeah, he has this one really annoying ass voice line that he says every time you enter his chapel, and I just it just was ingrained into my head, and I was so I hate killed that guy for sure. I wanted him dead more than anyone else.
Man, on that note, it's so funny. I love these Souls game pairing, especially with the mechanics of Xbox is probably similar, but for PlayStation, specifically on PlayStation 5 now, if you get and I found this out in a funny way, but if you get a trophy, it like records kind of what is
Yes.
going on in
Yep.
the room. So like specifically with Elden Ring, a lot of the trophies are beating bosses. I was laughing my ass off because I was just going through my trophies and I'm like, whatever, like whatever the bosses was, like whether I killed like Radon or something, and it's just like, yeah, are you like just like ferociously roaring. Feel like I finally get him. One that was really good was when I killed Estelle, the first Voidborn. I don't remember if you remember that one. Just giant guy. When I killed him, it was like, oh my, like I thought that like the death animation I thought was an attack. So I was like a sliver of hell. So I'm like, oh my god, like rolling, panic, rolling away, and then it just like paused. I'm like, is that it? Did I get him? And then I'm like, oh my god, I got him. Like that was one of the bosses that just took me so long to beat. But it's just so funny that I have that ingrained now forever on my PlayStation system of just when I beat that boss and just going through of the different like emotions where I'm super hyped or just super defeated. It's just like I beat him like like you know, like one of those groans or something. So definitely a fun thing that's in there, and be careful what you're saying because it'll be just captured forever in the PlayStation trophy room.
Yeah, true. Visible by all people who visit your profile, I'm sure. All right, I'll jump into my next game here. So this is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which came out a couple weeks ago. I talked about it last week on Sidequest, how I had an unfortunate bug that deleted my save, and then I decided to come back and really give the game another go. And now I'm like 10, 15-ish hours in, something like that. And yeah, no save bug has happened since. So hopefully I'm good for the rest of my playthrough here. But yeah, do you remember this one, Kirkland? We talked about this one back in January. Yeah, so premise of this game, it's kind of an RPG, a classic. Looks like a JRPG, but it's made by a French team. So kind of has that aesthetic to it, a little bit of like Persona vibes, a little bit of Final Fantasy to it. The setting of it is that there was the city in France, whether I think assume it's Paris because there's the Eiffel Tower, but it might not be Paris. I don't know how this alternate timeline works. The city from France was removed from the earth and placed in the middle of this endless ocean, and far off in the distance, there is this monolith and this goddess who is writing a number on that monolith. And everyone above that number just instantly dies. Every year, she knocks that number lower by 1 year. So that's kind of the premise, the hook, the initial hook of the game. And then where it takes place for you is at the very start of this game, like that she just writes the newest number. She just writes 33 on it. And then it kicks off like you and your team going on the expedition to go hunt her. Every year they send off an expedition to go try and defeat her. And obviously for 60 odd years, it has not been successful, but we're hoping that this is the one. We're hoping that we can use what we've learned in the past to finally get that. So yeah, that's the initial hook of the game. And then beyond that, it's a pretty standard turn-based RPG where you're exploring through a map, you're talking to characters, you leveling up your characters, all that sort of stuff. There's a million things to say about this game. It's definitely going to be one that I think I'm going to have to report back on as I get further in or beat it and whatnot, because I'm still pretty early on, but even then there's still so much in here that's really interesting. I think going back, I even re-listened to a little bit of us breaking down that when it was in that Xbox Developer Direct, and all of us were like, this game looks amazing, but it looks too good to be true. There's no way that a game, a team's first game can be this good. And so far, it is. So far, it definitely is. And like, based off the reviews, this game's getting insanely good reviews. Everyone I've heard talk about it is equally as high on it as I am at this point in time. Shout out to Mike in the Discord, who's been loving this game as well, and definitely encouraged me to like keep going with it after I had that bug with it. But yeah, it's just an insanely impressive game on so many levels. Like, I think, I guess starting from like the high level with that concept and the characters, that's one of the things that I just love about this game is like, the hook and the premise are outstanding, but then the way it really delivers on that and really digs so deep on what that means and what a world that has that setting would be like. And like that first section of the game, you're in the city, you can go around, you can talk to a bunch of different people as you're preparing for they've kind of turned it into a festival, like because they know exactly when that goddess is going to write that number. And so it kind of turns into this whole festival. And so you can go around, you can talk to people, and it's a very emotional sequence where your character's girlfriend is like a year older than him, and she is about to, her number is about to come. And so you kind of get like these final moments with her. And it's just like so interesting going around talking to people and hearing how like, one, just people in this world have learned to cope with grief in a way that no one on earth could ever know, just because in this world the amount of people that everyone has lost is just insurmountable. And so it's like both hopeless, but also like there's just this acceptance of it as well, and people are almost not even like mad about what's happening anymore because it's just been decades and decades of living in this existence. So it's just like so interesting going around talking to people. And there's this one character that kind of guilts a character you're hanging out with for not having kids. But then she's like, well, why would I ever bring a child into this like totally fucked up world? And so you kind of get like some of those commentaries in there. And like, man, I was so enthused. Like in some games, I'll usually talk to like the first, few people in a town, but then it's like, okay, I just want to move along here and like get to the game. But in this, I'm like, I want to talk to every single person because I want to hear what little tidbit they have about this world that's going to be maybe even just like some quick little throwaway line, but it's something that hints at like how the people of this world feel about everything that's going on here. And naturally with that premise too, like this game is about life and death and what that means and people being scared of it or people being ready for it. And I think it's just even in the first few hours, the nuance that it's had on that is really, really compelling. And I'm sure that's just going to get even, strengthened as we get like deeper and deeper into the game. So I think that's like initially what's great is like the hook is outstanding, but then the game is really seeming to deliver like what exactly that means and like what kind of characters would spawn out of a world like that. Like it's so much deeper than just like one initial hook that sounds good in a trailer. Like the whole game is just oozing with this like so specific vibe that only this game could create because of its premise. It's just outstanding.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I was definitely in that camp of just, I'm not gonna get too excited for this because we'll, we'll wait for reviews or word of mouth. It just seems too phenomenal. I totally forgot that Charlie Cox was a part of this.
He's the main character, protagonist.
Andy Serkis is in there.
The voice of Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate
I saw that one on
is in
there.
here too.
That's really cool. So I mean, what a juicy review you just gave me, and definitely just enticed by the whole world. So I think the world. Like design or not the world design, just the whole story element that they're like the lore, I guess, of it is probably the most enticing thing for it. For me, like I've definitely played a lot of JRPGs in my day, not my favorite genre, but just what it's kind of incorporating here, and just hearing your input there on just the characters and just their take on the world. Because like if this is you're a product of your environment, if you grew up with life, it's just like, when she changed that number, all those people die. It's like, okay, that's just the rules of the world, such as what we live by. Like you don't know what you're missing out on. I imagine there's not really people then that were like alive before, right? Like before that event, because you said it's been going on for 60 or so years ago now.
That's something. So one of the things that's cool is you're finding as you're exploring like the open world, well, not open world, but as you're exploring the map, you're finding like different essentially like beacons or like evidence of like the other expeditions that have gone off, which is a cool thing where it's like, why would there be a grappling hook there? thing there. It's like, oh yeah, because like a previous expedition put that there so that you could travel through the map easier. You know, they're trying to they're expecting
Another
that they're not
porter,
going to be the ones to
Same
necessarily.
thing, Death Stranding.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they don't expect that they're even going to be the ones that are going to end this thing. They hope they are, but they've just seen decades and decades of that not being true. So it's like, how can we, like, even if we can't win, what can we do to like make the next people have like just an extra step up so that they can win? Yeah. So yeah. So there's, I guess. Sorry, your initial question there, and I totally forgot the question is just like, I guess people who are there before this kind of thing happened.
Like, no one was really alive, I would imagine, at this point, right? Because they all would have been killed off.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I'm sure like even just the amount of people who were like that old to get killed off in the few years is like, oh yeah, how weird is it that all the people that are 99 died? Well, yeah, like they're 99. Like they're probably not going to be like, there's like 5 people that all died around the same time. That's not that weird. So I think that's like something in one of the dialogue things is that like it took a few years before they really even understood what was going on, and like it probably therefore took a few years before people even went on any expeditions. They probably like maybe they went on some boats to try and explore around, but I don't know if they went there with like, oh, that thing, we have to kill that thing because we know exactly what it's doing. So I think there is like a bit of that learning curve to it as well. But yeah, like as you're going through the map in world, you're finding like little diary entries from like the previous expedition, so you're getting like a flavor, a little bit of like the characters, whatever. So those people, they might have been like 70 years old when they were on. I don't know if they was like old ass people on these expeditions, but you know, someone like that, like maybe there's a 50-year-old on this expedition, and you can hear kind of their take on the world or like where they were in their adventure. So you can still get a bit of that perspective. It's just kind of through a bit of like an obscured lens, because you're not getting like a directly 60-year-old guy who's like, you know, the scholar who like knows all this stuff, because he would be long gone at this point. But it makes it so that like, oh yeah, 33-year-old people are the oldest people that exist in this world, and they're they have the most wisdom and all this stuff, which is a very different perspective than we're used to having.
Back to the Middle Ages when the the life
Yes,
expectancy was like 30 years old. Man, they better get her quick, because like if it gets down to like 12-year-olds, no, they're not going to be doing well on this.
That's the thing, right? Because everyone ages up, but then also the number comes down every year. So it's like you don't even have, you know, you couldn't, if you were born today, it's not like you have 33 years, you have like 15 or 16 or whatever, just because of how vicious it is, right?
It's such an intriguing concept, and it like just the story that you've kind of explained to me, it feels like an anime. It just seems like it's an anime that's been made out there of just like all the world rules and all these things. Now just because like I was just looking at images and stuff for it, because it's just been a while since I've seen like that initial trailer. But was the world like always designed like that, or did it like change when this goddess lady like started doing these? Because it's kind of fantastical of a world, right? It's not like it's just regular Paris.
Yeah, the iconic thing that stands out is like the Eiffel Tower is there, but the Eiffel Tower is like warped and kind of like fallen over in a way, but not in a way that like it fell, but like it looks like it was just ripped through space-time or something like that. So I think things got altered and changed. And, you know, another thing too is like one thing I'm a little bit confused about, and I'm sure it'll get answered later on, is that there are the creatures in this world. There's these Nevrons, and there's these Gestrels, I think is what they're called, and they're kind of like these fantastical creatures, which of course you end up engaging with when you're on your expedition. But even back in the city, people are talking about these things, and like Gestrels are like a fairy tale type thing. And one of the characters, Lune, who's like in your main party, you know, she's kind of like she's a very like whimsical character, like a magic person, and she's like in love with these Gestrels, thinks they're like the coolest thing. And so when she finally sees them on the expedition, she's like tripping out about this thing. And so it's like, I don't know, wherever this city was ripped from in the real world, did these things already exist? And now it's just like they're thinking about them in fairy tales because they haven't seen them in 60 years when they got like moved over to this new realm? Or is there just some way that they are learning about these Gestrels, even though there's like these endless oceans between them and like the continent where you go on this expedition? So there are little things like that I'm not exactly sure how it like connects with the main world. But so far there hasn't been any dialogue of like, oh yeah, so in Detroit, I came from Detroit back in the day. You know, there isn't like anything like that so far. There's no like mention of other Earth like realms, and I don't even think they say Paris. I forget if they even name the city that they're in. I think they just like, the game is very French, but I don't even know if they say the word French. I can't even remember. Like, I guess there's a guy and his name is Francois, which is just similar stuff like this. But like, I can't recall if there's like individual details like that. But I think that's another thing too, is like all the characters so far, like really, really unique and interesting. Lune, who I mentioned, like this kind of whimsical character, so invested with magic. I think they do such a good job of they tell like that character, like, you know, through dialogue you're finding that out about her, but also like her run animation is she just flies, and all of her abilities are very whimsical, and she's flinging her arms and like throwing bolts. Everyone has like a range attack in this game, and most of them is just a gun, but for her she just like puts her hand out and like lifts her fingers up barely and just like shoots this little beam. And so
That's
like
cool.
I feel like they can take the characters attributes and who they are as people, and like they kind of double it up through like their art design, but then like also their animations, which is like such an impressive thing. And Gustav, who's the protagonist here, who is voiced by Charlie Cox, such an interesting protagonist for a game like this. Like at first he seems like your pretty basic like RPG main character, which I think for a lot of the people it's like usually they don't have personality. I think like Chrono Trigger, and like Chrono doesn't have personality really. He's just like a bit of a blank space. You're supposed to kind of fill in your personality, or you kind of envision him how you want him to be. But usually they're like the more generic of the characters here. But I think he's a really interesting character. He's very stubborn. He very like almost immediately as they get to the expedition, he like goes against protocol and like breaks the rules just because of like personal reasons, because he like one person's missing and he wants to find that person, so he's totally going against all the plans that they've set up. He's kind of an asshole at certain points, but then like other times he's like, okay, he's an asshole, but he was kind of right, so you kind of got to give him that at certain times. And like I don't know, just such an interesting, and obviously the fact that it's voiced by Charlie Cox adds so much value to it, because he's able to convey all these different things. Lune mentioned, she's like a fantastic character. These other ones that I've encountered or are in my party so far, one of them is a bit more mysterious. She has a cool story though, because most of the people on the expedition, or everyone in fact, is 33 years old, so it's like it's their final year on this planet, and that's why they're going here. They're gonna, you know, spend their last year trying to save the day. But she's like, I think 16 or 17 or something like that. So she's elected to go on this. She's like an ample fighter, but she's elected to go on this, even though she potentially has many more years of life. And I think that she has like a bunch of really a lot of demons going on, definitely a little more reserved of a character, so a lot going on there. And then the fourth character of the party, and I think there's more that you get later on, I just unlocked a couple hours ago in my playtime, so I don't know much about her as a character yet. But so far they're absolutely crushing it with the characters, and then even like the characters in the world. Like the game starts out very serious, very dark, and even once you get on the expedition, very dark, very serious for the first like hour or two. But then the game gets like super silly and goofy, whether it's just the dialogue or like the little slapstick moments that are happening, or like the gesturals, like those creatures are very silly and weird, and like the things they do and the kind of I don't know, games they play and all this stuff. And so the game becomes very flavorful and very French too. Like it's very leaning into the French side of it, and I think the developers are kind of like making fun of themselves a little bit too. Like one of the costumes you can get is called baguette, and it's just like a very French like black and white striped shirt with like literally a baguette where like your sword hilt would be on your back. And like the game is just leaning into like the goofiness of it. You can get like swimsuit costumes for your characters, so it's like it's very goofy and silly and like on the nose with some of that stuff too. But that's what I love about it. I think it like starts out strong with like a couple hours of really dark, serious content to set up the world, but then it leans back a bit, because once again these characters, like they have a different relationship with grief than we would, and like they, this is their last life on Earth, like they're their last year on Earth potentially, and so like they're gonna try and enjoy it, even if it's like an incredibly dire and like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. They're still gonna try and have some fun with it, and I think that comes through in a way that's just really well paced, I think is the way to put it, because like if you open up with that tone, I think it takes you away from the seriousness of it, but I think easing you into that stuff is kind of the opposite of what a story would normally do, but I think it really works here for the material. So super impressed with the characters so far. Obviously like voice acting, animation, all that stuff is just super duper good.
Wow, I was gonna ask, how linear is the game? Like, is it, you kind of have a big open area that you can choose to go? Like, you'll probably come across all the areas, but you can kind of do it in whatever order you want. Or is it like, no, you go to this zone and then you go to this zone?
I think it's very much like a skill tree. Like it's kind of becoming more and more open as the game goes on. The first couple areas very linear. Of course, there's extra areas you can go to, extra people you can talk to, and then like there's kind of like the world map, and you're traveling with the world map, and then you like go into certain like loading zones, and then that's more of like a set level. Usually those levels are more linear with like a couple offshoots to like go find a hidden item. But then on the world map, there are like maybe 5 or 6 zones you could load into. A couple of them do have the classic like danger, like this is above your level kind of thing, and so naturally it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to backtrack here later. So I think it opens up as it goes. It doesn't feel super open, and that's maybe one of my criticisms so far, is I feel like the world map part of it, there are some fun things to do there, but it's not very immersive the way it's set up. Like it almost zooms your character out, so you're like I don't know, on like a huge world map, you're like a larger, it's like a representation of the travel you're doing rather than like the actual travel. And I don't find myself like the city that I was in really found that quite immersive. But in this next area, it kind of just feels like everything is kind of just a random flavor depending on what area they wanted to make at that given time, but there doesn't seem to be a ton of connectivity between it. So I'm not super duper immersed by the world itself, other than like obviously I love the premise and the setting of it, but like the actual world design and level design I think is something that doesn't feel necessarily super immersive. So that's maybe my biggest con, but like I'm not really that bothered by it. Like it's kind of it's fine. And then yeah, so I think the game is very linear in terms of the main story it's telling, but there are a lot of things you can go do to spend your time, whether it's just leveling up or if you want to go for an extra challenge. I've found multiple optional bosses at this point that all have like unique movesets and names and stuff like that. So it seems like there is a lot of extra stuff you could do if you really want to like spend 100 million hours with this game, or if you just want to mainline it. I have no idea how long this game actually is, but definitely a lot of optional things you can do. And usually anything I've done like that so far has given me a cool weapon or a cool skill that I otherwise wouldn't have. And so it seems like worth it to do that because you're going to get cool, unique, rewards for doing that kind of stuff as well. Or just a cool outfit, fun baguette outfit if you go find this, kill this mime boss, I'm down for that. That's cool with me.
I'm always a sucker for the aesthetics in those games.
Yeah.
This might be a stupid question. What does Clair Obscur mean?
I don't know.
Is this like a Tom Clancy thing, where it's like a person that's made these games? At first I thought it was the developer, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's not the developer.
I think it's like I think there's a direct translation for what that means in French. Let me see. Google Translate. I'm going to put in French here. And we're going to go to
Obscure
English.
is like obscurity, I would imagine. That's a pretty one-to-one comparison.
Clair Obscur directly translate to light dark.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So it's the light dark franchise. Expedition 33. Which, one of the characters, like their moveset is all based around like light charges and dark charges. Then when you have both, you go into twilight mode, you do like 1 million damage. But I think also there's like some black and white sequences in this, so really highlighting the light dark differences. So I don't know exactly what that means yet. I think by the time I'm end with the game, but it seems like it's kind of, I don't know, a bit of a catch-all. Like it can mean many different things. And then obviously Expedition 33, that's pretty straightforward because you are the 33rd expedition. Or not the 33rd, you are number 33 expedition. It's like the 60th expedition overall or something like that. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I wonder if this is like a series they would plan to do, and if it would actually be a sequel, or if it would just be like Clair Obscur, but then it's like a totally different world that is just like somehow thematically tied to this in some way. I'm not exactly sure, but like for me, it makes the most sense to call this game Expedition 33. Like that's what I want to call it when I'm talking about this game, because it's just so wordy to say all of the words in there. So the Clair Obscur feels less meaningful, even though that's like the first two words. I don't know. Is the short answer to your question.
That's funny. No, I'm glad I asked. It was becoming the Chris Pratt meme when it's like, I don't know what that means, and at this point I'm too afraid to ask.
Yeah, exactly. This game seems like it's chock full of references, whether that's just like a funny little French joke, but obviously like JRPGs, like that's not a genre I'm super duper familiar with. I'm not, I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge that I do for that, but it seems like there's a ton of references, whether it's mechanically or otherwise, to those kind of games. There's definitely a reference to The Office in the game that I encountered, so that was kind of funny. And one that I think I know you would absolutely love. At one point there is like an arena battle that you do, and it's kind of like a one-on-one battle. And when I won the battle, and I think there's different permutations of characters that could win this battle based on like who you choose to send in, or if you lose to the opponent, which I think could canonically happen too. It goes to like a 2D like side view, and it is literally like the exact same windscreen as like a Mortal Kombat, where like my character like floats in the air, has the magic, and it's like Lune wins. Like it does the exact same thing, and I was like, that is so much fun. So I feel like the game is chock full of little references here or there that once again add a little bit of levity to like what is otherwise a pretty dark and serious world where people are dying left, right, and center.
I never would have assumed it would have those just the JRPG-isms of just like ridiculous things going on, but it fits the genre really well. But it just looks very dark and serious from everything I've seen so far about it. I mean, I have seen the mime boss, and that does look a little bit silly.
Yeah, it's a little goofy. I still have quite a bit to talk about here with this game, so how about we take actually one more final break, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So I want to talk a little bit about some of these mechanics here. I don't need to go super in depth on it, but just talk about some of the things that I find interesting here. So obviously this is an RPG, and that means, one of many things. Of course, you are upgrading your stats in here, and then there's a really interesting system that I think so far. So obviously when you're picking your character, you have like different weapons you can get. So obviously those affect your stats and your damage and all that. You're leveling up your stats every time you get a level up. You're picking your skills, and you have a skill tree, of course, all that kind of stuff. But the thing that stands out to me as being pretty interesting is there's these two systems. There's Pictos and Luminas. So Pictos are essentially like 3 equips you can put on your character. That's like, oh, when you get a perfect dodge, you get 1 action point, or with your basic shoot attack, it deals mark to the target. Little things like that. And you can pick 3 of those at any time. And once you've done 4 battles with one of those, you master it, and then it becomes a Lumina. And now you can equip that on any character. So like all 3 of your characters in your party could have that same like Picto essentially equipped at that given time, and now you don't need to have it as one of your 3 slots, so you can put other things in those 3 slots, and then you just have like a certain amount of luminas you can have. So that's like a set number, and like depending on how powerful or weak the ability is, you can have like a different number of those, kind of like near Automata or something like that, where like super strong things take up like 20 pegs or whatever, and then weak little mini things take up like 1 or 2, that sort of stuff. So really interesting system, and that might have even been confusing the way I described it, and that was me like condensing it to the most like simple way I could describe it. But it's something that took a few hours for me to truly understand, and even now it is still overwhelming just because of like how many different abilities you get. And I feel like I'm getting a new one every 10 minutes in game, and then you have like, okay, this guy has these 3 on, and then he has these 4 luminas, and I got to switch them out, and then like, oh, okay, I get like 2 more battles with this one before I unlock it. So there's a lot to it, but that just adds some good depth to the game. But also, if you just want to like not pay attention to that, you can just put on like, oh, these 3 abilities make sense for my character, I'll just put those 3 on, and like you're probably good there. And then once you've like played the game for a few more hours and you understand it a lot more, then you can really dive deeper into mechanics. But it also allows you to really be flexible with your skills. You don't have to like dedicate points to these things. You can just switch them on and off. And so you can even do something like, okay, this boss battle, kicking my ass, I'm going to go back, I'm going to switch out my abilities so that they make a lot of sense. And maybe this one that I haven't unlocked yet for all my characters, maybe I'm going to go grind a couple battles just to unlock it so I can put it on everyone now. And now I'll be super effective against this boss. So that kind of stuff is really fun. And then on top of that, there's, of course, outfits you can put on. Those are just cosmetic as far as I can tell. I don't think any of those have stats, which is fine with me. So yeah, the RPG elements of it, pretty satisfying so far. Like, seems like it has a pretty big skill floor or ceiling, whatever it is, as in terms of how much you can learn about this. And then I think the part that I am most confused about so far is just like every character has a completely unique mechanic to them. And so Gustav, your main guy, he has the most basic one where he just like has an overcharge ability. It can have up to 10 charges. You get a charge every time you like do any action pretty much. And then when you have 10 charges, you'll do a shit ton of damage with this one specific ability. So that guy makes a lot of sense. You do things, you charge this thing up. When it's fully charged, you do a shit ton of damage. Cool. Makes a lot of sense. But everyone else's is way more confusing than that. So like Lune's is like she has these different stains, which are these different color abilities. And when you use one ability, you'll get a different color stain. And then if you use that stain, you can use different abilities, but then you also get bonuses on other abilities. Maybe it's more damage, maybe it reduces the cost. And then you can stack them in different ways. Super confusing. I still don't even know what I'm doing with that character. I'm kind of like getting away with it. I know like every like turn 1, 2, and 3, I pretty much do the same thing with her. And then I'm like, okay, I'm filled with stains. Now I can kind of do whatever I want. So once again, it feels like there's so much more to learn there. And then of course there's abilities that like are specific to her stuff as well. So you can even like, get more specific with it. Another character kind of has like different stances, and you're switching to different stances, and then they each, maybe one's more defensive, one deals more damage, that kind of thing. And then the latest character I unlocked is the most confusing of all. She feels a lot like Gambit in terms of her like aesthetic, and she's like has these
the card
cards.
thrower lady.
Yeah, the card thrower character. Yeah, and hers I don't understand at all. It's like I guess you're building up these 2 different types of charges. Then you can like expend them at different times. And then there's like the Twilight mode that I was talking about if you get like these different charges. So still trying to figure out all that stuff. It's quite confusing, but you can at least like get through the battles just fine. And I feel like every battle I'm learning a little bit more of how these things work. So that's cool. So a lot of really in-depth stuff there with RPG stuff. I'm really enjoying it. As far as like not being a hardcore RPG guy, I feel like it's got just enough depth, but there's still like a lot for me to learn. So I feel like it has a good balance there. Moving into a couple other things. Yeah, I think one of the things, we talked a lot about Elden Ring in this episode. This game, one of its other big influences is Souls-like games, and I think that's used pretty well, but that's not something I'm used to for JRPGs or RPGs in general. That's not usually a combo that you would do, but this game does have the situation where when you get to, they're not bonfires, they're like flags in this game from different expeditions. When you rest there, you heal fully, and then it reloads all the enemies in the area, right? So it kind of works out well where you can go through. Maybe I got my ass kicked by an enemy, but I kind of learned a lot about them. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to, save, heal up, go fight them again, because now I can do it without taking any damage, which is a viable thing. That happens a lot in this game. And so I think that works well. And then on top of that, too, that works for like your heals and like your items in this game. So like, in most RPGs, like the item that like revives a teammate is like the most crucial thing. In Pokemon, it's like, okay, I got to have a few extra revives or whatever. And like every game, you want to keep a few of those, but they're usually very expensive in like Dragon Quest and stuff. In this, that's a resource that replenishes every time you save at that flag. You just always have 2 of them. And so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to hoard a million potions, and that also makes the game super unbalanced because you have 100 potions now, and now you can just tank any boss. So the game can be more specific about its difficulty. So yeah, not something I've seen for an RPG before, but it works perfectly, and it makes the game just like they can balance the game that much better, and then you can like not have to worry about like hoarding a million things and not being afraid to use your heals either. Just use them because you can just go back and get them at any moment. It works perfectly. I love it. It's fantastic.
It's an interesting pairing to have that with a turn-based game. Like there's many other games that do that Souls-like where you rest and then all the enemies respawn, but I don't think I've ever seen it in a turn. I mean, I'm not deep in the JRPG turn-based genre, but still, it sounds intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, like From Software games are RPGs, right? So it's like, okay, I guess other RPGs have done this because
from Japan, so it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, it gets confusing when you compare that to like a turn-based RPG, as you mentioned. In terms of the combat, it's got the standard stuff. You can attack, and then you can use your abilities when you have action points to spend on these like stronger abilities. I think the 2 interesting things that stand out to me is one is the dodging or like damage mitigation system, and then also this other thing, you just at any point, you're building up your action points, which you use skills, but you can also just use action points to shoot a gun at an enemy at any point, and it's literally like you pull the left trigger as if you're like aiming your scope, and then you like shoot the right trigger as if you're like taking a gunshot. So it's weird to have that in like a turn-based game, to have like this real-time element. Like obviously people aren't moving around, but you can just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to take aim and shoot, and they have like weak points, so you kind of aim for certain things. But that is such a great innovation, because so much of RPGs is like, okay, I'm over leveled, I'm super strong, maybe I'm in a weaker area, a previous area, but it still takes forever to take out like basic enemies because I have to like go through the turn-based menu thing. But in this, take out my fucking gun and like 2-shot these enemies, just dome them in the head, and I can move on, get my XP, and go on my merry way. Or if an enemy's down to like 10% health, now rather than having to take a full turn, I can just shoot them in the head once, battle's over. So it just speeds things up. But then also, of course, this game layers on top of that, where like right now I have Gustav set up so like all his abilities like power up his gun, so it does more damage and it applies debuffs and stuff, and so it just works even better now. So I can like combine certain things on top of that. So one, it speeds up battles, but also it's like made that ability of his super duper powerful. So just great, really like such a great innovation that makes the game like it's still turn-based, but now it feels a little more lively, and then it just speeds up the game. So amazing innovation there.
It reminds me a little bit of like what Sea of Stars did, right? How you can kind of have like the little mini game like in the combat to just make it feel a little bit engaging, because I feel like that's one of the worst feelings when it's like, okay, I almost got an enemy down, and then you miss, and then it's not your turn anymore, and then it like rotates around. You're like, are you fucking kidding me? I gotta wait again. Like that is just such a shitty feeling. I feel like it really stunts like the pace of like when you're really playing like those turn-based games, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And then, they also add on to that where there's like some enemies that are airborne enemies. They fly around, and your basic attacks have a really low percentage to hit, but like from a gun, it's a much higher percentage to hit. So like there's even enemies that, are based around the mechanic too in a cool way. And then the other cool thing is, as I mentioned, the damage mitigation. So you have 3 options. You have dodge, you have parry, and you have jump. So when enemies are attacking you, once again, even though this is a turn-based game, if you get your timing right, hit the B button at the right time, you can dodge that enemy's attack and take no damage whatsoever. And then you can also get a perfect dodge, which I think gives you, if you get a perfect dodge, you can get an action point if you have a certain skill on. But one that's a really great mechanic, because it makes the game more lively even when it's not your turn. You still have to pay attention. You can mitigate this damage, but also if you don't hit it, it feels like, yeah, I was supposed to get hit there because it's my enemy's turn and it's their turn to attack. And so it's just one of those things that feels really good, and it just it guides perfectly into the parry mechanic too, where the dodge timing is way more lenient. You have a way bigger like invincibility frames, I guess. So if you get the dodge off, but parry is like really specific. You have just a few frames, but if you get it right, you obviously get a counterattack. But because they're both like just a button away and you can kind of do any of them either time, it makes it so like as you're fighting an enemy, learning their attack patterns and their timings, I'm going to dodge for the first 5 or 6 times I encounter this enemy, really nail that timing. I can get my dodge every time. And once I'm super duper confident with it, now I'm going to go for the parry because I know exactly how that timing works. And once again, as I said with Elden Ring earlier, I'm awful at parrying. I suck at it in every game ever. I'm horrendous at it, but because of the way this game works and how it puts it like right there at the same time, and I can learn that timing in a really structured way, it makes it so I can actually get parries off, and I feel so good when I do them, and I can actually get them on a regular basis against enemies that I've fought 100 times, right? Because I'm used to that timing. So just genius. I love that. I think it's such a great little 2-in-1 mechanic that works perfectly.
That's awesome. And then something that's frustrating and awesome at the same time in Elden Ring is like they change the pace at which they'll attack and like lower, like they just kind of change up their, like, does stuff like that happen, or is it like it's pretty the timing, it will always be kind of the same?
So most enemies, from what I can tell, other than like bosses and stuff, have maybe 2 or 3 attacks they can do, but what's great about it is it'll say Lancer enemy is attacking slowly. Lancer enemy is attacking quickly. Okay. Lancer enemy is going for a combo. And so it like says that on screen. And so, yeah, maybe sometimes the slow and quick attack will have the same animation, but at least you'll be prompted for which one they're going for. Okay. And I've found that I can usually, even just from the visual cue, I'm able to pick up on it because, once again, these enemies only have 2 or 3 attacks each. But even like having that thing physically on screen that's written that out, I guarantee that's something they didn't have originally in the game. But then like after they play tested a bunch, people needed a little bit more of a hint, and so they added that as like a reiteration almost. So yeah, they do different attack timings. And it still gets me. And that's what's great about it. Like, even though it's very telegraphed, it'll still get me at times. And so the game doesn't feel like a cakewalk. It doesn't feel like it's giving you all the information because you still got to get the timings down. You still got to master the system. So yeah, once again, just like every little part of it, it feels like they get completely right. And then the third damage mitigation thing is jumping. So this it's something that I'm a little confused about. I can't tell if you can jump any attack. There are certain attacks, though, like an enemy will get like a big yellow square, and that means that it's going to be a thing that only jump can dodge it. Okay. So you can't parry it. You can't do a regular dodge. You can only jump it. I'm unsure, though, if you can jump other attacks that you could normally dodge. You just going to get the timing right. I don't think I've done it yet, but maybe my timing is just off. But then a jump dodge, it's usually a bigger attack, and often it'll attack your whole party because it'll be a big boss like smashing the ground and shooting out like a shockwave. But now if you get the jump timing, then you get a free counter attack. So it's almost like an easier parry, but it's only on like certain attacks, and it's very, very cinematic. And usually like a boss fight will have it, or a mini boss will have it. So just adds a little bit more variety on there. You got to be on your toes because now there's 3 possible buttons you could hit there. And yeah, just a little nice addition there. And I'm sure, once again, there's skills that you can get that are like, oh, if you get a jump counter attack, it'll deal 200 times damage, so you get all these things that like layer on top of like specifically dodge, specifically parry, specifically jump. So it just lets you, once again, customize your characters in a way that other games might not have, just because they don't have these damage mitigation systems in the first place.
It's funny we were making these comparisons this game to Elden Ring. I feel like that's a big thing in Elden Ring, is just like the jump mechanic. And like, I don't know if you knew this on your playthrough. I watched a video on YouTube where this guy, again, just breaking down the science of this game. Yeah. He's explaining how like jumping is actually such a better effective way to dodge in Elden. Like your iframe is actually so much larger, and you can actually dodge so many more attacks than you would think you can, like with just jumping over attack. So I'm trying to like incorporate that in my own gameplay system. And then of course you have the ever powerful jump attack, which I know you relied heavily on your playthrough. I love
my jump attacks,
which is like really good for staggering. So it's so funny how it's similar to that, how you can like dodge with it, but then you can also follow up with a big heavy attack. So just a lot of similarities there. 2 great games, and fuck, it's like the Nightreign thing. The more we talk about it, I'm
Yeah.
enticed. I got to get in there.
You got to play this game
Yeah.
at some point. I don't know when that will be. Maybe it'll hit
Yeah.
PS Plus at some point. Once again, it is on Game Pass, which is why easy jump in for me. So really, really great game.
Another reason to
check
get
out
an
there.
Xbox, is Game
Exactly.
Pass just winning. Is this a
Exactly.
Microsoft studio?
This is not. It's not. But they were able to secure that. I wonder if part of this is because like I remember back in the day when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, there was this whole report of like how Larian maybe wanted to get on Game Pass to get a little bit of that Game Pass bag, but Xbox passed on it, and it's like, wow, what a huge whiff from Xbox. Whoever didn't approve that one, how could they have known, right? Like, Baldur's Gate, who knew it was going to be that monolithic of a game? No one really. But obviously it was like a bit of a miss. So I wonder if this is like them calibrating of like, what's going to be the next random ass like RPG that comes out that people are going to be gaga about? And I don't think this is, this hasn't hit Baldur's Gate 3 level of like, taking over the world. But I think this is like a bit of a compensation for like missing on that last big RPG that everyone was talking about. And this game is super duper popular. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's loving it. So I think that was a good secure for them. And yeah, I mean, it's like, I would definitely buy DLC for this game at this. I haven't beat the game yet, but presumably I would go back and play more. They said they are maybe going to work on some DLC, so it's a good thing too because they'll still get bonus money from me, even if it is like through that subscription I'm playing it there. So yeah, I think that's mostly it. Like once again, I didn't need to state these things, but like the game is gorgeous. Lighting's fantastic. Animations are amazing. The characters, faces, and mocap and all that stuff is outstanding for once again, a studio's first effort and from a team that has only like 20 people. The music is unreal. It's so freaking good and so much variety to it as well. It can match the goofiness of the game at times, very French vibes, or like the epic, intense stuff, or the emotional stuff. Like it's doing everything. Super fun. So yeah, I can't recommend this game enough, and I'm gonna probably as soon as I'm done editing this podcast, I'm gonna go back and play for a couple hours until I go to bed tonight. It's one of those. I just can't put it down right now. So shoutouts to Expedition 33. Do you have any other questions about this bad boy at this current state?
I feel like I kind of got them all out there.
Nice.
Is there a day-night cycle in this game?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Or is it just dark? So it's
I guess
just like
yeah, it's got the camp, the base camp. Yeah, it's light dark. The base camp kind of works the same as Baldur's Gate, whereas at any point in the open world, you can just choose to go to camp, and then you'll go to like a set camp. And whenever you go to camp, it's nighttime, and the only way to leave it is by like going to sleep. So the game has a bit of a day-night cycle in that way, but sometimes it's janky because like I'll go to the open world for like 2 minutes, and then I go back to my camp and go to sleep. So it's like, okay, we were up for 4 minutes today, everyone. And we went back and sawed logs for another day, even though there's only, 360 days before we die. That's not a mechanic in the game. I think you have infinite, but it's a little bit goofy in that way. But I don't think and then, certain set piece areas are like, oh, it's nighttime here, daytime here. But yeah, not like there's no clock on screen or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I think you covered everything. Is there fishing? Cool. That's such a JRPG thing.
Ooh, I have not fished yet. Okay. I have found some water. I did like a parkour challenge over some docks and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't think I've encountered fishing quite yet.
Okay, let me know if you.
I haven't seen like a regular biological creature. Like there's no like deer or anything. It's only weird fantasy creatures, and there's mimes, of course, which come from Earth, but. But even these mimes, these are freaky mimes. They're not your regular mime. I think that's good for today on this game. There is so much more to talk about, but I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts on this game. If there are any more questions, I'm sure I'll bring it up. Maybe not next week. I don't know how much. Probably want to play a bunch more of this game before I bring it up again. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Kirk was a super fun episode. A lot of different a range of topics here today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.